Shout out Sniper T on the beat.
Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise, with life on the forefront of the mind. So line for line, you can ride this brain train and you can change your station without even touching the dial. So relax, stay a little bit, but listen for a while. And whether you're bumping this in the whip or in a business fit, it's a meeting you won't want to miss. A meeting for a meal to feed the soul with words for the mind. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Time to take off, it's time to fly. Cause Tamara till the break of dawn is on the rise.
Hey y'all, hey, it's me, Tamara. And I need to change that. I was thinking about that today, how I gotta switch it up again. It feels forced, which is why I've switched my intro up like multiple times since the show. But anywho, welcome to the show. So glad y'all tuned in. If you're new episodes drop every Thursday. To all my regular listeners, thank you for continuing to come through, support, go along with all the different types of episodes that I be having going on, because y'all never really know what y'all get, but I feel like y'all appreciate that at this point. If you're not, you should totally be following me on social media. So the link to my social media is on my website, which if you're watching, the website's at the bottom of the screen. If you're listening, my website's in the episode notes, tamarathedon.com. Let's see what else. Get y'all some merch. Get y'all some merch. I got we won't go there yet, but yeah, get y'all some merch. That's on the website. Or if you want to support in other ways financially, click the support tab on my website, because I figure, hey, it might be some folks out there that, you know what I'm saying, y'all want to sew into what I'm doing. So bam, there it is. Podcast shout out. So this week's shout out goes to Conversations with Glow. This is a podcast that I do listen to, but it's crazy because I was trying to think of how to really describe her show, because it's kind of a variety of topics like mine. So I just kind of took this from her description of herself. She says, many people have eyes to see and ears to hear. However, everyone sees and hears things differently. We're all looking through a different pair of lenses. If you like to hear real and raw, go ahead and click that play button and enjoy. So if that sounded good to you, the link to her website is in the episode notes. By the time this airs, I will have just had my April live show, which is a spoken word night. So if you missed that, shame on you, which I always say that, but not for real. But if you missed it and you want to see what we did, which it's me, Penrose Eames, he's a fellow podcaster, and then my homegirl, Ellen Z. Yates, who also is the chick who did, well, not the chick, but my friend who did
You definitely said chick.
I know. And she listens too. So Lindsay, you know, I love you. I didn't mean it like that, but she's also my friend who did my intro. So y'all hear her every week when y'all hear Tamra. So yeah, that's her. But spoken word night, the link to the YouTube will be in the episode notes if you missed that. Also coming up this Saturday, the Saturday after y'all listen to this, April 24th is the next podcast happy hour. If you're not familiar with it, it's myself and 4 other solo female podcasters, Audrey, Autumn, Chris, and J-Bug. And we get together once a month, rotate platforms. We bring something from each of our shows, and we're also friends. So then there's lots of foolishness and laughter and all that good stuff. But this month, it's going to be hosted on Audrey's platform. So the link to her Twitter is always in my episode notes every week, because you got to follow them if you're going to, you know, see where it's going to be and keep up with us. But it's going to be at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Again, that's on Saturday, April 24th. So now I got all the announcements out the way. Let's go ahead and get into today's episode. So we got Baylor. Y'all should be familiar with him if you're a regular listener. He's been on here multiple times. Baylor, real quick, why did you change your Twitter? Or what happened? Because I thought somebody was out here trying to, you know what I'm saying, steal Baylorism at first. And I was like, oh shoot. But yeah.
Well, hopefully I'm not. Hopefully I'm not that popular to where people are trying to steal from me.
I mean, you never know.
Um. Well, no. So I created Baylorism back in October. For the clothing. And then I got suspended from my other account about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I guess for some copyright infringement stuff. It was a song that I had posted, and they suspended me.
Wow.
And so when I didn't even try to appeal it. I was just like, "Yo, I get it." You know what I mean? Like, all right, you could take it down. I won't ever post a song again. I'll never post a song. I'll never post a video with the song in the background. Nothing. I haven't heard back from Twitter.
Wow.
So I guess it was a good thing for me to create the other page. So here we are.
Okay.
I'm okay with starting over. You know what I mean? I did have a nice following on Twitter
Mm-hmm.
with the other one, and as we know, like when the longer you have it, the algorithms start to work together, and I was starting to get a lot of traction and things like that. So I mean, it's starting over. It's social media. It ain't no big deal.
Yeah, I just wondered because I was like, "Oh, okay, well," and it's funny because I think about stuff like that sometimes. Like as I've seen other people have issues with their Twitter getting whatever happens that Twitter puts them in jail, or I don't know whatever terminology they use. Or
Mm-hmm.
I've seen like when Autumn had some issues with her Instagram because it is so random. I was thinking about that the other night, how someone really tried to be like make a fake page that was her and then DMing all of us. And you see a lot of that. I mean, I've seen it with other people who are not content creators, and it's so weird. But then it has just caused issues with her Instagram. And I think about where I've seen even like celebrities lose access to their Instagram and all this stuff, and
Yeah,
I would
it
be
seems
so
like
annoyed.
it seems like it's like a trend now to where
Mhm.
they getting people up out of here. And but they got me up out of here for sharing a song. You know what I mean? I didn't say. Now, one time I did get reported. Never found out who that person was, and I
Mm,
never found out what I got reported for. I just
mm.
know I was in Twitter jail for about 12 hours.
Wow. I've never been in Twitter jail. Now I have, and I'm gonna still do it every birthday, and we'll see what happens because on my kids' birthdays, I make them a little birthday video and I tell them what song do you want on the video. So they'll tell me a song, and it's kind of bootleg how I make it all come together, but y'all would never know because I do it all in iMovie. And it'll be like months later that Twitter will come back and say, "Hey, this, you shouldn't have had this or whatever." And I just let them take it down. I've never like been in Twitter jail for that, but I almost went to Facebook jail, and I was like annoyed because I really didn't do anything. I'm trying to remember. Like I think I just said I don't remember, but it wasn't even like I don't post stuff like that on really too much of anywhere. But oh, I said I'm tired of these people in my DMs trying to like these sugar daddies, and I don't like what they got me for is almost like they thought I was trying to be on some weird stuff. And I'm like, did y'all read what I said? Because what I said is I'm tired of this. And then I posted a screenshot of my IG convo with people, oh, I want you to be my sugar baby, and man, get out of here.
So they
So
so they suspended your account because you used the word sugar daddy?
they didn't suspend it. They said, well, since you've never done this before, however they worded it, but basically this is a warning. But then I posted, I'm so petty. I screenshotted that and then made a status because I'm just like, I didn't do anything. Like if I did something, I will, take the consequences. But all I said was, I'm tired of sugar daddies in my DMs.
Right.
And so, I mean, are y'all mad because y'all trying to pimp me out Facebook? Like, is that what it is? Because otherwise, I didn't really understand why I was getting a warning. But yeah, I've never really though been, in real trouble. So
Yeah, it's getting annoying now. Like seriously, at this point, I'm carefully watching what I'm saying. Like even playing around now, it's getting ridiculous. You know what I mean? But I see it being, like I said, I see it being a trend now to where I guess they're just trying to cut down on, I don't know what, the cyberbullying or something like that. Maybe.
I mean, are they really though? Because it took them forever to handle Trump's account. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but see, this is the thing though. We gotta realize that when it comes to certain people, not
Yeah.
just celebrities, not just athletes, just certain people in general, they're gonna have certain powers. You know
Yeah,
what I
that's true.
mean? That's just what it is. Like they let him go on because it was bringing traction to Twitter, even though they didn't need it. They let it happen until I mean, it's kind of funny that they suspended his account just on his way out,
Right.
but they
Right.
let him rock all this time. So,
Mm-hmm.
like at this
Mm-hmm.
point, I understand it. I see what y'all doing. Now, this is the part that I don't understand. That Twitter was built off of basically free speech.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just the cool part about it, there's a such thing for years, and I've been signed up with Twitter since '09. You know what I mean? And it's like, bro, y'all, there's a such thing as Twitter after dark. Y'all do
Mm-hmm.
realize that. And Twitter after dark gets real filthy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're suspending me because I posted a song that came out in 1993
Mm.
and haven't heard back from them.
And see, that's the wild thing about it is that yeah, like there's stuff I'll post on Twitter that I would never post on Facebook, mainly because who follows me on Facebook. It's a lot of some of it is youth because I've been into youth ministry and stuff. Some of it is it's family, it's whatever, and I don't know. Sometimes I just want to be unfiltered without having somebody. Man, you just know. I know how some people are gonna respond, and y'all know I'm not out here posting stuff like trying to slander people, but it's not like that. But even just my humor, sometimes I just don't be. I just either laugh or scroll away. You know what I'm saying? Because if I put it out there, I wanted it out there, and I don't put stuff out there to try to be malicious, and so sometimes I just don't go there. But man, I done seen all types of porn on Twitter.
Yeah.
Not just that night though. Sometimes it be like 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, this what y'all on like this early? And so I just don't understand how, kind of like you said, stuff like a song where we're not trying to make money off these tweets. Literally, it's a happy birthday thing, or
Man, it was a track that me and my cousin, every time we hear the track or we just think about it, we tweet it to each other. Literally,
mm-hmm.
that's all it is, or whatever. But now I get it. Twitter want to be anal about it. You're like, yeah, and I've always separated Twitter from everybody. I already knew Twitter is the big dog. So when it came, I don't even be on Facebook. I don't. I mean, the only thing I use Facebook for is the sports group that I'm a part of. And now that the hip hop show that I'm a part of, they got a Facebook page. I'm more interactive on that, but I don't be on Facebook like everybody else be on Facebook. It's mainly IG and Twitter for me. And Twitter about to get up out of here in a minute. They keep acting like a little acting all sensitive and stuff. Like y'all let Trump run wild on that app as the leader of the free world. And
Yeah. And not just him though, because you see people will intentionally say the wildest stuff on Twitter and go viral because they say that too, you know what I'm saying, go viral, and they just be cool with it. And for me with Facebook, because I have my Twitter and IG is like, follow me there, you know what I'm saying? So I keep my Facebook as only friends and family that if I tag my kids in a post, I'm okay with you knowing their name, and you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. Because I don't post them too much. I'll post them, but I never tag their IG accounts because I'm just like, niggas is weird out here, and I don't want to have to, you know what I'm saying, somebody's supposed to be a supporter and they really on that weird stuff. So I get on Facebook, and I also have a show Facebook page, but it's very kind of limited how much I interact, you know what I'm saying, because I really got tired of it during election season, because you see so many different people just, and I'm like, this is social media. Like, I'm here to be social and keep up with the folks that maybe I can, especially right now in this pandemic. I'm not trying to see all this bull, but you know, I don't know. Yeah, but I just wondered that because I'm like, you
I
got,
bet, I bet you, if I was to go viral or become famous, they'll pull up my old
oh
Twitter
yeah,
account,
oh
and then
yeah.
they're gonna find all my old tweets. And
Mm-hmm.
and to be honest, I never, in general, because when I signed up back in 2009, I wasn't on Twitter like that. I didn't come back to Twitter until maybe a few years later, like some years. There was a large chunk of years that I wasn't on Twitter and just had a Twitter account.
Same. Like I almost want to say I signed up in 2011, I think, somewhere around there, and barely used it because it moved way too fast. It's an app that, you know, you gotta either stay on it or be okay with missing out on, you know, understanding what's going on. And I also don't think I really understood how to use it, but it wasn't until like 2020. So once I started my show that I was like, oh, okay, let me use Twitter, because then it just seemed like when it comes to networking, it's way easier to find like-minded folks than even on IG. It's way easier to have your stuff shared by other people in the retweet groups. But I didn't even get a Facebook until 2010. So I've always been someone who, when it comes to social media, I'm not reckless on there to where if people start pulling up old tweets, you know, they really ain't gonna find nothing. They'll laugh, they'll see I'm petty, they'll see I'm trying to encourage people. Like, that's how I've pretty much always been. And more recently, and I almost hesitated to tweet this when I did, but I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. So everybody knows DMX passed away. And prior to him passing away, on Views podcast, shout out to Views, Spence had mentioned that he watched Romeo Must Die, and he was just saying how great of a movie it is and all this stuff. And I'm just like, that I don't know. I mean, I have that DVD, like a Romeo Must Die Cradle to the Grave DVD, but I wouldn't say it was like this great movie the way he was praising it, especially in comparison to, I can't remember the other movie that and even Ivan was like, you giving all this, you know, to Romeo
Hey,
Must
look,
Die,
hey,
and
look.
it's backwards.
Everybody got different tastes. I just
Right.
say that. I just say
But
that.
I brought that up because after he passed, I tweeted and I was just like, it's kind of wild how on the show, Spence said that Romeo Must Die was such a great movie and aged well, and then DMX was basically like, all right, I'm gonna head out. But that's my humor when it comes to coping with crisis sometime or pain or tragedy or whatever. But even with that, I hesitated to tweet it because I'm like, somebody might whatever, but I did it anyway. So I feel like if there's ever a tweet out there that maybe somebody might, try to say something about, that would probably be the only one. And even really, that's not bad because it's not like I'm bashing DMX. I mean, I loved his music,
Hey,
etc.
yeah, people will find a way.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's sad that in 2021 we have to tiptoe around our tweets. You know what I mean? So that's just what it is. And Twitter,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Did Twitter actually sign that deal? Did they sign over to Disney? If that's the case, then that's everything. No more Twitter after dark. Everything
There
is
was
about.
a Disney signing.
Well, I think Disney was going to buy Twitter or something
Oh
like that.
gosh.
Something like that. I would have been right off that app.
Yeah, because
Right
I'm
off.
on there for the foolishness. Like I have such a wild sense of humor that it's like when and I've said this on here before at the beginning of 2020 when there was concern about us going to war. And I will never forget waking up on January 3rd, hopping on Twitter, all the memes, all the gifs, all the creative ways that people were like making fun of what would happen if we went to war, because it's kind of like sometimes all you can do is laugh to mask the pain or the fear or whatever. And so I love Twitter for that. I love that I could have a deep conversation with somebody that I'll probably never see them on the timeline again, and that's okay because you meet so many different people. And so I love it for the pettiness, for the foolishness, but
Yeah. So back in 2019, Disney considered buying Twitter.
uh
But you want to know why they didn't buy it?
why?
Because of the nastiness.
Mm.
That's literally what it says. Because of the nastiness that comes with it. So Disney would have cleaned that right up.
Oh
And I
yeah.
and I'd have been right off of that. And it's
Yeah.
not because I want to see the nasty, but Twitter was created for everybody to be free on that app. Do I
Mm-hmm.
believe people should be on there bullying cats? Not
No.
at all. But at the same time, you can't control this world.
Right.
You cannot, because the shit is. I mean, they might not even do that. They might not even do that in real life. They might do it on Twitter because they're on the keyboard behind the screen,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So I get that, but I mean, let people get their bars off. You pick and choose if you want to be on the app or not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, all right, the Breakfast Club, which shout out to Cedric. He couldn't be here today, but he's still in gang, gang, gang. So it ain't
Mhm.
no opening in the hood. It's still just the three of us. But the Breakfast Club is literally one of my favorite movies, and I'm the kind of person that I don't own a ton of DVDs, like, so because if I buy a DVD it has to be something that I'm willing to watch over and over and again, even though I already know what's going to happen. And the Breakfast Club is for sure. I mean, I've watched it twice recently simply because I watched it on the anniversary day when I text John, was like, hey, let's do this movie instead. And then I just watched it again today just before recording. And I could watch it tomorrow. And you know what I'm saying? It's just a movie that is literally one of my favorite movies ever. I want to say, I guess I'll say, I feel like it aged well. I feel like even watching today, besides like style and stuff like that, obviously is going to be different because it came out in 84, but just the social issues that they discussed and went through and just different dynamics, I feel like it's stuff that really could happen today and goes on today. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I I have nothing bad to say about it at all. I know you love it as well because you said that.
I was 3 years old when that movie came out. So I probably seen it for the first time probably somewhere in the late 80s, probably somewhere around 88, 89. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Because it wasn't like it was something where my mom was like, "Oh, I think my son should watch this." I think I might have just stumbled upon it, which I did with a lot of movies.
mm-hmm,
There weren't people around me that said you should check this movie out. A lot of movies that I watch were strictly off of me finding them. You know what I
mm,
mean? Or watching it as somebody else was watching it. You know what I mean? Not knowing what it was.
mm-hmm,
And this was probably the introduction to me liking teen drama movies in general throughout
mm,
my whole life. You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean? So I think this was the very beginning, and I just loved all the characters, including what they labeled, because they were all labeled something. You have the athlete, you have the criminal, you have the basket
mm-hmm,
case. You know
mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? You had the somewhat spoiled girl,
The
and
nerd.
the nerd, and all of them had issues.
Mm-hmm,
And basically, that's what the movie is about: is that everybody comes from a different background,
mm-hmm,
but we're all in here for doing something stupid, and we
mm-hmm,
all have personal issues at home.
mm-hmm,
So the way you think of me at school and the way I think of you when we're at school, it could be off. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
But what we go through at home and how we're treated at school is kind of like creates this character for us.
And it's interesting because that's one because I actually took notes this time while watching it, and we had to go do laundry, so I had it up on this mountain thing I have on my rear view in the car watching it. The girls were watching it with me too because they love the movie, so I've raised them well, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But it's I was taking notes because and I've seen it as an adult, and so actually what made me want to do this movie review instead of the one we had originally agreed upon is because while watching it there were just so many things that I noticed that I started to just live tweet, and then I was like, wait, no, I want to discuss this because one of the notes that I actually wrote down, well I should say typed, is how kind of like piggybacking off what you said is that they all had so many different misconceptions about how easy they think the other one had it. I
Mhm.
didn't understand why Andrew off the rip was so like aggressive towards Bender, like, and we don't know if like they had beef before, but it seemed like they really didn't know each other or hadn't had any interactions. They maybe just seen each other, you know, around the way. And
Mhm.
so they all had these views on who they thought they were, how easy the other one, which is a lot of times what we do as adults or just regular people, where we look at maybe another podcaster or just somebody else we know that we think, or celebrities, because they have all this money, at least we think they do, we really don't know what they got, and we think they have it easy. But then you see it's not when you see somebody who's super rich commit suicide, or you know, you see someone honest about their struggles and transparency, or struggles and or transparent about their struggles and stuff like that. And so I like how you could really see that, but also it makes me think about how, you know, like when Bender was trying to say, when they were talking about their parents, and Brian was like trying to simmer things down because it was getting a little aggressive, but then also he was like, man, I can't do right by my parents either. And, you know, Bender's like, man, you're a parent's wet dream. Like, what are you talking about? And it's just crazy how his struggle, Brian's, was, you know, the pressures of having straight A's, you know,
Mhm.
and the pressures that his parents were putting on him. And so, but also he, you know, they supported him, they provided for him, etc., making lunch for him and all that stuff. And so Bender saw that as like not a real struggle, because it's like, well, at least you don't have your dad beating on you or whatever. And that's a lot of times what we do is we'll say, oh, well, I broke my arm, so you stubbing your toe, that's not that bad. Like, you just need to get over that. And that's toxic. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody's pain is their pain, and maybe that's all they could handle. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people, their baby daddy's a deadbeat, but he's still alive and could have relationship with their child. My kid's father is no longer here, but it doesn't mean that their struggle is any less than my struggle of, you know what I'm saying, raising my daughters without their dad completely. So I thought that was this is where I say this movie ages so well, because all of it is relevant now. You know
Well,
what I'm
the formula is there, and it has been there. They've had movies or TV shows with certain characters of this film in their
saying?
projects,
Hmm.
such as you have the athletes who are praised, and then you have the dumb jocks. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? You have the bullies uh, who end up being bullied at home by their parents. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? You have the princess who is given everything. She's probably one of the cutest girls in schools and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And again, we talked about the pressures of having a certain GPA or grades with the nerds and things like that. And then you got the quote unquote basket case
Hmm.
who nobody understands, but she has insecurities. She tries to stay away from everybody. She's a loner,
Hmm.
and everybody is dealing with their own insecurities. And for
Hmm.
them to think that, well, this person has it better than me, but they are dealing with their own demons, you know what I'm saying, with their own situation. Of course,
Right.
some people will like to swap, but there's still situations that they need to iron out with their parents. You know,
Hmm.
when I look back at the characters, um, Andrew, I want to say Andrew and Bender, I can't relate to Bender because I never had my parents never beat me or anything like that. But I can understand his demeanor and the way he acts because he's probably going back to a cold home,
Hmm.
you know, where and there's probably a sense of jealousy,
Hmm.
knowing that, you know, the athlete and the princess and the nerd and probably even the basket case is probably going back home. And it's crazy I'm calling her they literally call her the basket case.
Yep. Yep.
But you know, he's probably jealous that they're going back to better situations.
Let me piggyback off you real quick, because where you said going to a cold home, what I noticed today while watching it, which, man, the acting was phenomenal. When I, as I've gotten older, I've realized that if I get drawn in emotionally and I feel and I like forget this isn't real, and you really make me believe what's happening, it makes me realize how good of an actor you are. And when I was watching it today, I was watching where you could see that he was interested in Claire, but he didn't want to let himself be interested. And so you'd watch his eyes like kind of light up a little bit when she would say something or whatever, but then you would see him almost like, well, no, because he's coming from a cold home, that makes him have insecurities and feel like, well, I must not be worth love because this is what I, have or whatever.
He
And
doesn't
so,
understand. He doesn't understand it.
right. So it was just interesting to see him operating out of his woundedness, but also I feel like he was, on the flip side, very compassionate when he saw that somebody was being for real. Like the part where they was all smoking and she's like, I'm never gonna be like my parents. And at first he started to be petty, but then he could see that she was for real and see the pain in her eyes, and you could just see him kind of like, okay, let me not, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. And also he giving them all this weed, and it seemed like they all had their own joints, you know what I'm saying? He took the fall for them when really it was Andrew's fault that they was going to get caught because he's Mr. Know-it-all. No, let's go my way. So he was just this, didn't know how to love, but also very compassionate because he knows what it's like to feel unloved. And I feel like in that regard that I related to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The crazy thing is I've been around like in middle school, not so much I've seen it in high school, but it was really in middle school where, and my older brothers had to tell me, I think even my mom had told me once before that like some girls that act weird around you, at with this particular girl that I'm talking about, she used to always hit me in my arm. It used to bother me so much because I didn't hit girls back at all.
Good.
I definitely wanted to because they used to tee off on me. And one of the girls was actually bigger than me. She was taller than me and she was bigger than me. And I remember she used to, I wasn't no saint, sometimes I used to have some slick bars, you know what I'm saying? But it always hit me in my arm and stuff like that. And then my mom and my brother told me, she was like, sometimes them girls like you, they don't know how to express it. And I was like, well, that's the bad way of expressing it.
Right. I'm glad you said that.
At this point, like, just tell me, because if you try to beat it out of me, that's not going to work.
I'm glad you had that thought process, which the more we record together, I realized like you were an old soul. Like you thought grown almost, it sounds like, at a young age, because so many times, and I've seen discussion about this lately, where people say stop telling kids that if someone hits you, it's because they like you, because ultimately you're planting the seeds that might get them caught up in domestic violence
that abuse is
relationship.
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Yep. And so I'm glad you did not. I don't remember anyone ever telling me that, so I can't really say
and I don't know where they would, my learned behavior came from watching a lot of stuff on TV, believe it or not. I didn't have any outside of my grandparents. I didn't have any examples on marriage at all. My marriage advice came from The Cosby Show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You know what I mean? And how I dealt or how I talked to girls and or women, that came from watching A Different World. That came from listening to Joe, listening to R&B, listening to Janet, Stevie Wonder. Those were my teachers. So when I'm listening to the lyrics or I'm watching certain episodes, I'm picking up on that stuff. But I knew right from wrong, because even though I didn't sit there and watch these movies or these TV shows with my mom also taught me indirectly, like, never put your hands on a girl. You don't have to be in an abusive relationship. You know what I mean? So I knew that was wrong, but I didn't understand why you would have to hit me because you like me, because there are other girls that like me, pass me a note.
Right.
And then gave me an option, yes or no. You know what I mean? But you chasing me around the school with them tetherball fist pumps, like, that's not gonna do it.
Right.
That's not gonna do it. But at the same time, going back to Bender, all he knows is when he goes home, he's not being nurtured.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we've seen this in other movies, and we've seen this in other TV shows where a kid goes home, a struggling teenager goes home, and he knows what he has to deal with. So when he comes to school, to deflect that pain, he puts that pain on somebody else.
It's interesting though, because when he walked in at the beginning and he had on the trench coat and all that, and we know when he comes from
and that's his makeup too.
Yeah, we know when he comes from a broken home, from abuse. I was just like, wow, he fits the profile for a school shooter. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, you went there.
Yeah, I did, because of the trench coat, because I thought back to Columbine, the trench coat mafia. And so there's just this part of it is me being funny, where I'm like, if I see somebody with a trench coat, I think back to that. But
Isn't
in
that
this
crazy?
instance, I was like, wow. But it's interesting though, because he chose to numb his pain but with drugs rather than be that person. You know what I'm saying? Because really, when he was, if you want to say mean, it was more so to push people away, not to bully people. If you like kind of look at his dynamic, especially with like Andrew, where Andrew would like try to come at him all aggressively. And so then to counter that, when it came to violence, he didn't really want to fight him. He's like, I'm going to kill you. And yeah, he maybe would have, but really he was saying, I'm not trying to fight you.
Yeah. The weird thing, I'm glad you brought up Columbine. Columbine happened 2 years before I graduated high school. It's crazy that prior to Columbine, what we call the Gothic students or kids, they wore the trench coats. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And we didn't think nothing of it. We just know, like, whatever part of the school that they're in,
Mm-hmm.
that's leave them alone. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? The Marilyn Mansons
Yep.
and
Yep.
all that punk rock stuff that was over there. We didn't bother them. They didn't bother us. You know, some we were cool with, depending on how you were in high school. And it was no issue. You fast forward, that movie came out in 1985. 14 years later, the trench coat redefines everything about a student now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy, man. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it is, because like, so in my high school, because I grew up, I mean, I live in Nebraska, and the school that I went to was near a military base, so it was diverse in that sense, because the military, like I grew up military, and you kind of grow up around a lot of different people. But as I was watching this movie, I was trying to think back to how I was in high school, especially when they were talking about the pressures from friends, and like, I have to do what my friends say and all that. And I don't remember being like that at all. I've always been the kind of person that would make calculated risks. So yeah, I did some dumb stuff, but I wanted to do it anyway. You know, I
Mhm.
didn't do anything that I really didn't want to do. But when it came to the dynamics of our friend groups, I have always kind of been the person that kind of pretty much was cool with everybody and kind to everybody, you know, to a degree, as much as you can be, you know, as a high schooler. I wasn't like this super nice person, but I also wasn't very mean either. I was more trying to be funny than anything.
Hmm.
But then I would have my main little crew. So similar to how I am now and how y'all see me, I guess, as a podcaster move, I have my main little people that I talk to. Literally, we talk every day. So that's the podcast happy hour crew. But then I'm cool with everybody. And I have, as y'all see, different people on the show that, so I'm not like cliquish, but I have just the people that I'm closer to. And that's how I was in high school. But we had, like, you know, you had the athletes, you had the cheerleaders, you had the band folks, you had the gothic kids, you had, I feel like the black people really try to just stick together because we were the minority. But even within that, there were still little, you know, these people are closer, these people are whatever. But kind of like you said, I can think of the quote unquote Marilyn Mansons of the school that I never felt, because they had a trench coat or whatever they wore, I never felt like scared or threatened.
Mm-mm.
It was just like, okay, that's just a different friend group. They just dress different. They like different music, and that's really all it was. But
Columbine was the first time I could, and I honestly can speak for my whole school. I ain't gonna speak for the whole district or even the whole state of California.
right.
But Columbine was the first time we ever heard of a school shooting. Now we've had shootings on campus, so hear me out. We had shootings on campus at different high schools and definitely outside the schools. but they weren't considered mass shootings because of the gang culture.
Mm-hmm.
So cats that came up on campus or during the football games or something like that, they shot up the football game or in the bleachers or something like that. They didn't consider that a terrorist act or a mass shooting. They considered that gang violence. You know
Let
what I mean?
me, because I'm pretty sure I was out of high school. When did Columbine happen?
99. Actually,
Oh,
the
okay.
anniversary is coming up.
Yep. So I had just because I graduated in 98. I was sitting here thinking like I'm pretty sure that I was not in high school when that happened, but I wasn't that far removed from high school. But I don't remember hearing about a mass school shooting prior to that. And here's the thing is that it's different in this. Okay, so I remember here in Nebraska, there was the Von Mar shooter. So Von Mar is a store. I don't know if it's a nationwide chain, but it's a store that's in a mall here in Omaha. And I remember being at work. So this was like, I want to say, was it 2007? It might have been 2007. I'm pretty sure. Yep, because I was working at Baker's. And I remember on whatever phone I had back then, getting like a news pop up saying first it said like one person dead at the mall or something. And I immediately thought maybe it was some sort of gang rivalry because that's more common than mass shootings in the mall. You know what I'm saying? So I just remember thinking like, dang, y'all wilding out here. Like y'all up here, like niggas can't shop. But then it was like 5 people shot. And I was like, and I want to say 12 people total got killed, but don't quote me on that on y'all, and I'm not gonna look it up. But once the number kept going up, I was like, okay, wait a minute. That's not the way gang activity usually happens in public places like that. Not in this slow progression. Now, if it's a drive-by and somebody's just, you know what I'm saying, like shooting up all these people outside, okay, that's different. But this slow progression, because there was like time passing between each pop-up, and though he didn't shoot up a school, when you think about his home life that you found out after the fact, which he lived actually not too far from where I live right now, but when you think about all that, Bender, going back to that, he really does fit that profile of what could have been a school shoot. Like it could have been, obviously they wouldn't have had the movie because they didn't have school shootings to my knowledge back in the 80s, but it could have been a whole different movie, or let's say it was real life where it's Saturday school, especially after Vernon had him in that closet threatening him and trying to get him to fight him and stuff. It could have been him come up, shoot up the Saturday school, and like in today's time, I don't want to say that would have been justified because it's still wrong, but I just feel like when things like that happen,
He had the ingredients to do
yeah,
it. You know what
I
I
like
mean?
that better. That's a better way to say
Because
it.
not only him though, if you had to pick a second one, obviously it's going to go to the nerd. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
Brian for
Yeah,
sure.
and even the basket case, like you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. They have these are 3 individuals, and Bender seemed like he may have been the bully, but he wasn't the cat that everybody was afraid of. So
Mm-mm.
he too would get picked on as well. So
Mm-hmm.
we have 3 characters who dealt with being bullied,
Mm-hmm.
and then on top of that, out of those 3, there is an actual bully. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I think the '90s is where a lot of things that's going on in today's world or in the early 2000s even started in the '90s, like police brutality. My first the history of it with me started with Rodney King
Yep.
in
Same.
in '92. I was 10 years old. 3 years later, one of the I graduated the same year the towers got hit.
So I What? That's wild. Because I was pregnant with my oldest daughter. I didn't know I was pregnant at the time, but I was pregnant with her when the towers hit. And I remember laying in bed sleep, her dad, because he was actually in jail, and him calling me and being like, hey, turn on the TV, a plane just hit the tower or whatever. And I'm like, what? And I turned it on right as the second one was hitting, and then it was just like all you saw all day, even on BET, so it was real.
Yeah, it was pretty much on all the
Yep,
channels.
yep.
But that wasn't the first. That wasn't the first. What do you want to call it? I'm not sure what you want to label it.
Terroristic attack.
Yeah, we could call it that because the first one was 3 years after King in '95. Did you hear about the Oklahoma City bombing?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, that killed over 100 and some people or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I remember that one. And then 4 years later, you have the school shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So within what, a 7 year span, I got police brutality, a terrorist attack, and a school shooting.
Mm.
First to my knowledge, though,
Right.
because in the '80s, the only thing that I seen in the '80s were gang banging and drugs. You know what I mean?
I do remember because like I said, we grew up military, and when my dad got stationed in Korea, my mom had us move to New Jersey, and we stayed with my great grandpa. And I remember, that would have been '89, so I was 9 then, and I remember a little boy got killed by the police because he had a toy gun. And I remember rioting, or I don't even know if they called it rioting, because to my knowledge, it wasn't protesting. And then again, who knows, because I was only 9. But I remember all that. So it's like, even stuff like that and I know the history of stuff like that goes back even further than what we know. The only difference between now and then is that social media, the internet. So we just didn't know. Like, if I didn't live there, I may have known, because my grandma probably would have told my mom, and maybe I would have overheard the conversation, but most likely I wouldn't have, because I was only 9. So the only reason I know about that is because I lived there, and that was in Teaneck, New Jersey. That's where they live. And so you see this stuff still going on, and you see it talked about more now, but it's not anything new. Like, it's just
Yeah, it's not new. It's just every you know TMZ is like, I don't know. I don't know if we have any Ninja Turtle fans, but TMZ is like super shredder
Mm-hmm.
for paparazzi. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And it's gotten TMZ is the devil's work.
It was
But
ridiculous when, and I know it happens off more than that, but when the way that Vanessa Bryant found out her husband died was because of TMZ,
yeah,
that is raggedy as hell. And even when you see, gosh, even with DMX passing, all the confusion and oh, he's dead before. I mean, granted, he was brain dead, but still,
right.
anything can happen.
I will say this. Because when we first got the news about DMX, the same type of love and attention that he got when he passed away was almost identical to when we found out he was in the hospital. So I really didn't fault people, for one. For two, I will say this. I said this on the Breaks Radio. And I said this on another show as well, that I'm not mad. Oh, I've said this on Clubhouse. I'm not mad at people that went out there and showed or expressed their RIPs and stuff like that, because whatever information is given to them, that's it. They're not there. Again, I don't think it's fair that people need to rush and say something. At the same time, let's not act like we're not conditioned for failure. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
When Nip got hit or whatever, I was getting text messages and I was in group chats or whatever where we was getting inside information because people was down there on the ground right then and there at the scene.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we knew, you know what I mean? Now it wasn't confirmed until later on that day or whatever. Um, at the same time, we've been getting tragic news for a very, very long time during the internet era. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And we're getting visuals, we're getting videos, we're getting pictures like
Mhm.
right after it happens. You know what I'm saying? Before they even take the body to the coroner office, we're
Yeah.
getting videos and pictures. We're conditioned to see this all the time. So when DMX was in the hospital and bits and pieces of whether it was wrong or right information, people ran off of that. People was trying to hurry up and grieve, or people were just trying to hurry up and just get their RIPs out the way.
But do you think people are conditioned? Because I will never say anything about how people grieve, because and even when people get into, oh, how can you be sad about a celebrity, or how can you this, that, and the other? I don't get into all that because that don't have nothing to do with me. But I do feel like, death aside, people are conditioned to want to be the first to say whatever. And that's where I feel like I obviously am not going to know anyone's intentions of why they do it. So I don't like make
Oh
status.
no, we know why they do it. They want to be. They feel like that's their 15 minutes of fame.
And see, that's where I struggle. But also from a personal standpoint, I remember when the girl's dad was killed. And the call that I got from his sister was, did you know your baby daddy got shot? And I was like, what? So I rushed to the hospital. She didn't know he was dead. His brother didn't know he was dead. One of his brothers. His mama didn't know he was dead. His other brother, like most of his immediate family did not know that he was dead. But then on top of that, I'm at the hospital in this waiting room, waiting for them to like take me back to see him, I thought. And then I got people calling me, I got people texting me, I got people Facebook DMing me. I scroll Facebook a little bit, I see all these RIPs, and in my mind I'm like, how the hell, where y'all getting this information from? Because I'm at this hospital and these doctors ain't told me that this man is dead. Thank God my daughters, because that's what I think about, is like immediate family. Like if my daughters had found out on social media, I would have been mad as hell. And
Right.
so, but then what it made is when it was like, I think the nurse, a doctor, and it might have been a chaplain too, when they finally came in that room with me and his sister, and they're trying to be all like ease into it. I'm like, no, don't sugarcoat it. And I like kind of went off because I'm like, I got people calling me, I got people texting me, I got this, that, and the other. Did he die or not? Just forget all this other stuff you trying to do. And she was like, yeah, he died. And then I just like fell apart. But it's like, that's where I have an issue with it, because people want to be first and want to get clout off somebody else dying. And that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Uh-huh.
but I know we live in a day and age where people need that validation. So it just is what it is. And that's why I don't like tweet about it or make statuses or whatever. If it comes up
Uh-huh.
on the show, then of course, because this is my basically public journal. But that's what I struggle with all that, because it's like, I
I
mean,
I get it. There's still the same people that hurry up and report, or they type up RIP, is the same people that's looking to go viral
mhm,
for any and everything. But
yeah,
there's also some people out here like myself. Like when my mom went to the hospital, my auntie was like, "Yo, talk to her." You know what I mean? And I did, and I said what I said, and then the very next night she passed away.
mhm,
So I felt it though. You know what I
mhm,
mean? And then it's just Like people tell you all the time, and I can't tell you if it's true or not. I can just tell you what from my personal experience is that it was a feeling that I had that something wasn't right, and I got that call at 12 something in the morning saying, and they got straight to the point. You know what I mean? But that's why I say some people are conditioned to believe that way or to feel that way because of what they've been through in life. You know what I mean? And based off of the news that they gave us. And the reason why I feel like they're conditioned is because when Dr. Dre was reported, you know, earlier this year back in January, earlier this year back in January,
Dang,
people,
that was January.
yeah, people
2025
were,
has been long as hell, man.
yeah, people were holding their breath on that. But not even that, randomly here and there, if someone posts a photo of an athlete
Yep,
or something like that with no caption or nothing
yep,
like that,
yep.
we assume that they passed away.
Hmm.
And you will see people in the comments saying, "Oh, I thought so. I thought they had passed or something
Yep,
like that."
yep,
You know what I
yep.
mean? And then sometimes there's just certain pictures that they pick and they'll post it on IG or Twitter or something like that. And you'd be like, "No, this can't be." Yeah.
Somebody, even on birthday, even if they post a birthday, because they post, just like you do with your friends, you post, oh, happy birthday or whatever. But the way IG is set up, because the caption is at the bottom. So if you're
Mhm.
just scrolling, and I'm trying to remember what celebrity. Now I don't go as far as to comment and be like, "Ooh, you scared me," da 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 da, da, like I see. But I did have that. Oh man, because it was like, I think close after Chadwick Boseman died, and I'm trying to remember. I don't remember who it was. It doesn't matter, because it's anybody that, yeah, we are conditioned to kind of,
We go straight to death.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that, and I don't see now. Don't get me wrong. There's something wrong with that. That's called PTSD.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But I don't feel anything is wrong for how people feel. Like like if that's how they feel, I know why they feel like that. And this is going back. This is going back to Bender. I know why he feels like that. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? This is stuff that he had to deal with from his past. Not just him though. All the rest of them kids, they got to deal with personal trauma. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah. Because when Claire said that she felt that her parents don't care about her, and it's interesting because yesterday Janae, so that's my youngest, she's the one who has struggled, and I mean, I've talked about it on here before. She talked about it when on her episode, and she's been really lately kind of digging into some of her trauma. This is grieving aside, just other stuff that she's been through with her therapist. But then what that does is that makes you raw and triggered, and so it's been a little bit rough as she's been trying to navigate through that. And so yesterday was a bad day for her, and she came home and she's talking and she's saying how, I can't remember how she worded it, but something like basically like nobody cares about her. And so, but she said everyone something, and I was like, well, who is everyone? Because I'm a parent regardless, that I'm just a person, that I want to understand what you mean and not assume, especially with serious stuff. So I'm going to ask questions to try to make sure I'm fully understanding. But especially with her, because she communicates through the lens of her emotion. She is like this walking ball of emotion sometimes. And so what she feels is all that is in that moment. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I'm like, well, who is everyone? And she's like, everyone. And I'm like, and my Kayliana happened to come home from work. So I was like, so Kayliana don't care about you? And she was like, no. I don't care about you. And she was like, no. And I was just like, I didn't say anything. It, of course, hurt my feelings, but I was just like, okay. And then she talked a little bit more and she said she wanted to be left alone. So I was like, all right, go ahead. And I just left her alone, and she slept like, I didn't even see her come out of her room. And then I actually let her stay home from school today, and I still kind of just let her be. But when she would come talk to me, I would be, you know what I'm saying, like my normal self. So I wasn't like, oh, well, if I don't care, you know what I'm saying, like being petty or whatever. Nah. And it's crazy because she actually ended up apologizing. And what I told her was, well, thanks for apologizing. But when you get in that mode of saying stuff like that, I don't really take it to heart all like that, because I know you're just kind of in your feelings, because she has told me before, when I'm in my feelings, sometimes you can't listen to what I'm saying. So because I know that about her, I'll just let her talk and, just kind of move forward. But with with Claire, it was just interesting that though her dad at the beginning of the movie said, I'll make it up to you for having to do Saturday school when she's the one who messed up. He said, I'll make it up to you. But regardless of that, in your mind, for whatever reason, because they didn't go a ton into it other than she feels like they use her as a pawn in their, toxic marriage. But that aside, they didn't really go into any background on why she feels like they don't care about her. So it's just really interesting that she's rich. I mean, girl eating sushi for lunch in high school. I didn't have sushi for the first time till I was grown.
Well, we gotta give a lot of those kids back in the days the benefit of the doubt. They were much more mature. Hell, they even look more mature. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So I'm pretty sure she picked up on the fact, like, I'm probably getting a lot of fake love. You know what I'm saying? And when I come to school, I'm getting even more fake love. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you've ever been a part of the popular crowd, or new cast that used to be a part of the popular crowd, a lot of it was fake love. You know what I mean? And then when you go home, and we already know what it is. It's the same formula. You got the rich kid, rich parents. They either don't, about to get a divorce, or they travel all the time, don't have time for you, don't have personal time for you. You don't really have memories. You got money over memories. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So, and again, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. She probably picked up on that as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why there's movies out there where the kids are more attached to the butlers or the nannies and stuff like that,
Right.
because those are the ones who actually raised them.
Right.
And they probably share secrets and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and was there when she broke up with her first boyfriend, and the nanny comes in and consoles her and nurtures her and things like that, where mom and dad is on a trip in a whole nother country, or
Mm-hmm.
mom is too busy, and when she come home she's still working and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And kids pick up on that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That fake love, man, it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately in the podcast industry. And
Oh, I don't care about podcasters.
we,
I
but
don't
what
care.
but what I'm saying is, like, when people give me praise, I I really don't care about it, because I just, especially like when people use generic things like, oh wow, you're so dope, or you're so whatever. But what did you really get from whatever? You know what I'm saying? Because I pour my life out into this show because it's for me. It ain't even for y'all. This is a therapeutic outlet for me. And so it's weird, because you have a lot of people that, for their own selfish gain at times, or whatever their reasons, they want to be associated with you. And I don't say this in a prideful way, because to me it's weird, because I'm nobody, in the sense that I'm just a regular ass person just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I'm somebody because of, not because of podcasting, just because I'm a decent human being, and, stuff like that. So it's not like I'm saying in this I have a low self-worth. No, I know I'm dope, but I don't put a lot of weight in anyone else saying that you don't really know me, because even on this show, all you know is whatever I talk about in an episode. That's all you know.
And then that's all they should take from it. I mean, I'm glad. Look, with the same 9 listeners that I get, I'm cool. I'm cool with that because I like. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate everybody that retweets the episode, comments, and especially you. You probably the one that says the most. You know what I mean? And which I appreciate. Um, and I accept all the love, but the genuine responses, those usually be like text messages or phone calls. Like my boy, shout out to my boy Jar up the gray area. He sent me a voice message. He said, "Look, brother, what's going on with this malto meal?" You know what I mean? Like,
Hey man, that episode.
shout
It
out,
was.
shout. I
Did you
gotta get.
ping me on Clubhouse?
Yeah, I did because I wanted everybody to come to my court case. So
Man,
shout out to the lunch break. You know what I'm saying?
Clubhouse
That's
gives me
hosted by my boy 4K, 4KJ. You know what I'm saying? We got Migo in the building, Brian and Alyssa. It's a GG. It's a nice group of people that they talk every day, Monday through Friday, the lunch break, and my girl Ray. Ray spilled some beans one day while I was not in a room, and she was just letting everybody know that me and her have we got a rivalry. You know what I mean? Like we go back and forth. We've debated a lot on certain topics, but at the end of the day, we just real cool. We talk about THC and a gang of stuff, other stuff like that. And she let them know that I eat malto meal, right? And so they decided to bring me up on charge. I didn't. I've had this idea of having an episode like this, but I've never created the episode. It's still sitting in my notes. So they've had a thing where they've had held court before in that clubhouse room. Just
How
something
did y'all
creative.
record it though?
I can't give. I don't
Okay,
know.
never
Yeah,
mind, never mind.
you already know
Yeah,
how.
yeah, no, it's
I
because
will. We'll
yeah,
talk. We'll
yeah,
talk.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so they came up they actually exercised the idea that I had in my notes without them even knowing. And that when they brought me up on these charges, I think it was reckless poverty or something like that.
Yep.
It was 2 charges. And I said, you know what? Let me know. Let's pick a time for us to do this because I was like, this is a dope episode. And the reason why I wanted to record that was because I always wanted to record an episode like that, and I figure I might as well do it now because the opportunity is here. So it came out well. Shout out to Be Honest for editing the show, and yeah, but like I said, when I get those phone calls, like, yo, if for some people that don't know on the East Coast and maybe even in the Midwest, they was like, yo, what is malto meal? You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, so you listen to the show. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, look, let me tell you about podcasting. I'm getting sick of it. I'm tired of podcasters. I really am. I'm getting sick of the game. I'm done. I think I think I might finish out this year and just, as you can see, I changed the title of my name. That's HR Baylor. So I think I might be going in a different direction. I think I might apply for the HR position in podcasting to where like I said, I listen to a lot of podcasters. A lot of stuff I agree with. A lot of stuff I just leave it as entertainment. And then there's a lot of stuff that I disagree with. The stuff I disagree with or I kind of find a little bit off or funny or questionable, I might have to bring you to the HR room. We might have to talk about some things. You know what I mean? Instead of me putting out a show every week and stuff like that, like I'm really considering just chalking it up. Not just because of just how draining it could be to record or, scheduling and
You record a lot for a lot of shows though.
That too. And some of those is going to have to come to a halt because the older I get, the tired I get. Yeah, I'm cool, man.
Would you still do guest spots if someone invited you on?
Well, that's easier to do because guest spots would be like every now and then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where I have I gotta have 2 shows. I gotta have my 2 shows done, and they have to be done within a certain amount of time for editing time. And then I got a show that I record on Wednesdays, and then I got a show that I record on Sunday nights. Like, nah, some of this stuff I gotta cut out. I'm gonna have to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why I do drop the way I drop is because, I was told like, yo, you stay consistent every week. They get used to that. Bam, that's algorithms right there. You got to stay on their neck. But now I ain't gonna lie to you. I am not a podcaster. I am a dope person that can podcast. At this point, I'm dope enough to just leave the game and just do. If you got a hot track, I'll get on that track. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm there. I believe in myself that much. But yeah, I don't know, man. BTG for president, open run, man. Might be parked for a minute.
Hey, if I ever, because sometimes it's so funny because this is not, and even now I'm in, like I've said on here, in the process of trying to start a company. I'm going to be launching a brand, and there's just things I want to do professionally. But podcasting for me has always been a therapeutic outlet, and it's a good creative outlet. But if ever, like, I'm not going to ever do something just to do it. Like, if it becomes I don't have an idea or I don't have something I want to talk about, then it just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because as I've said many, many times on here, I'm not trying to make it in the podcast game. And it's not no shade to anybody that is, because there are things that I'm aspiring to do that, but that's not one of them. And so it's kind of like, sometimes I think like, and I don't know, I think some of it is right now I'm very, very busy. And so when you're very, like today, I worked, I had an appointment. I was like so dead tired after the appointment that I like passed out, took a nap for a couple hours. Then we went to do laundry, still had to get in my workout because I'm on this. I want to close my exercise ring every day in April, this little goal I set. And so it's like the busier I am, it doesn't feel like a burden right now, but if it starts to feel like a burden ever, I'm going to have to shift some things, just because I don't want it to feel like that. I want it to feel like how it is now, where, man, this is a great therapeutic outlet. You know what I'm saying? Because even if as we're talking about the Breakfast Club, because of how we do these movie reviews, it always brings about other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like the thing with the podcast love, or even some of my friends and family that are suddenly, I won't say family, I won't say that. Some of my friends that are more engaging with my stuff on Facebook or even Instagram, it feels weird to me, because it's like, it's been this separation of, okay, the podcast community has been the networking, the support, the spread the word, the this, that, and the other. And then the family and friends were kind of just like there. You know what I'm saying?
I totally understand that, because it's not that I don't want certain people listening. This is my thing, like family or close friend or something, like, well, it's mainly family. Don't call me and say something is
No, I'm that same way. Like when my friends, thank you for listening. I appreciate y'all listening. But I told a different friend of mine this. When people tell me, oh, I listened to your show, it always feels weird, because it's like,
yeah,
I don't, and then they want to talk about it, and I don't know, it's weird to me.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's not what they say all the time, is actually who says it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, like I said, when other podcasters hit me up about the episode, bro, let's break this down. Let's talk about it. I'm glad you like it. You know what I'm saying? Next time,
Yeah.
let's do an episode together. But if one of my aunties called me,
Yeah, Yeah.
Don't call me. You know what I mean? And this is just for family members. Now, family members, don't call me. Just don't do it. Just don't call me.
I think for me, I want that. Like the fact that my kids don't listen, I don't care. Because in a sense, podcasting is starting to become not like work, like I feel like it's a job, but I'm starting to look at the industry like work.
Mhm.
And so my family doesn't come to my job. I mean, my kids know what I do, and probably even more so now because I work from home. But my family don't come to my job. They don't, you know what I'm saying, like talk to my boss or do all that stuff. So when I don't know, it's like in my mind, I want to not know who's listening. Like, or if it's podcasters, I know that y'all get that while I am being authentic on here, so I'm never being fake, at the same time, there is a level of entertainment because it just is what it is. And I can be an entertaining person, but it doesn't mean that this is the representation of the sum total of who I am in a hour or whatever episode. I don't care what I talk about. Like when I did the Shut the Fuck Up Awards with Autumn and Chris, I went in a way that I don't normally go in on stuff on this show. Even in the Petty Tam Tam episodes, I usually try to be more, you know, whatever. But it was what it was. So then it's like when people that I know and then they want to ask me stuff about it, and it's like I don't really want to talk about it because it's like for me, most of the time I ain't even on that no more. Like y'all got to remember, this is a therapeutic outlet for me. So think of it like y'all are I'm my own therapist, I guess, because y'all ain't here. And then when it's over, I done poured out, being transparent about whatever I'm struggling with. And then it's like I'm usually not on that no more because that's how I am. I'm an external processor, even outside of podcasting. I journal or whatever. And so it's just to get it out of me. Or sometimes I notice I cry more now than you know.
I'm for sure. The older I get, the more sensitive I get.
Yeah, man.
I ain't gonna even lie to you.
I've cried a lot in the last, just in April, I've cried a lot, and then the next morning it'd be like, oh, it's a new day. So it's like, I just need that release.
But you got to understand people. Oh my God. I'm going to call you back. I'm doing a show. Damn, my bad.
You good.
Let me put this shit on. My bad. Yeah, that caught me off guard.
It's happened. And it's funny because I always put my phone on do not disturb, but my kids and my mom are on bypass. So one time my son called and I'm like, bruh, and his ringtone it always startles me because it's like, yeah.
But this is the thing though. I'm on my laptop, but I forgot my stuff is hooked up to the laptop. So yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna call him back. Anyhow, I have untrained. It might not be right. This is Baylorism. Untrained selective memory. That means when you hit me up, that's why I'm glad. Like you'll go on Twitter and you'll type enough just so I know. Like, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. Because I'm gonna tell y'all right now, to all the listeners out there, especially the ones that listen to my show, that listen to Tam. I don't know. I don't remember I said that. I don't. Sometimes there's a 30 to 40% chance that I'm high during that episode. And I will forget what I'm talking about right then and there. So what makes you think when I put this episode out and y'all get to it, whenever y'all get to it, then I'm gonna remember what I said. Please.
That's me sober. Yeah. Man, and I lose my train of thought in here in an episode, within the episode, and be going off on this tangent and be like, I don't even remember why I said that. And so, but that's what made me start listening to my shows kind of like either the day it drops or somewhere around when it first drops, because you get so many people that'll text you, DM you, whatever, and I would never know what anybody was talking about, like, ever. And so, but the way I tweet the way I tweet, because one, and this is what I need everyone to know that I live tweet your stuff, it's my interpretation of what you said. And 9 times out of 10, if there's a super petty spin on it on purpose, especially if what you said was the slightest bit petty or funny. So it's never me, usually, unless it's like inspiring or something. I'll put the quotes of "you said this," but otherwise it's always so and so was like, they didn't say that, but that's basically my interpretation, you know what I'm saying, of what y'all said. But it's usually, because I remember one time somebody asked me, because they would see me, the 3 shows that I always live tweet, usually most of their episodes, was Off the Record. I know they're on a break right now. If you're listening, we waiting on y'all to come back, which I already text OTR Mike earlier this month, and I was like, so it's been about almost 2 months since y'all had an episode drop.
Yeah, they've been going for a minute, but not just going. Now, I understand that for the past 3 weeks, I haven't had my original account, so I had to look for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And look, oh yeah, if I haven't found y'all, I'm not gonna look. I don't know y'all name, so I'm just gonna wait till one of the homies retweet y'all, and then I'm gonna follow y'all. But I say that because they all have separate accounts, and it's like, I can't remember all those accounts, but I do know I ain't seen y'all on Twitter in a long time.
Yeah.
So did y'all take like a social media break or something like that?
I don't know, because I tweeted at Quan and Brandon, because they was barely on anyway. And I was just kind of like, just because y'all shows on a break don't mean you could start being a ghost on Twitter, or however I said it, because that was just, I will always joke with them about their lack of presence, especially Quan. But I would always tweet OTR show, like live tweeted. I will always live tweet views. And also now added to that is sweatpants and stretch marks. Those are the
they crept in. This is why I tell people, it's not how long you've been recording.
Oh nah.
It's how you record.
Yep, it's your content.
Yeah. Them women right there, they some killers, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
not in that way. Like, I think one of them really is a killer.
Oh, here you go.
But no, they be killing the game, man. They are really, and they are in their own lane. So please don't take this as disrespect when I say this, but they are like the women version of Views from the 7.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, like they hold their own. They hold their own, so they don't.
Yeah. But those are the 3 shows that, and no one has ever asked me, like none of them said, can you live tweet my show? Because they wouldn't say that. It just naturally happened, you know what I'm saying? But I remember one time someone, because I will at least tweet that I'm listening to you, which really, I don't even have to do that, because there are plenty of people that listen to my show that I did not even know they listen until someone, I remember when I can't even talk. Someone DM'd me one time in response to a IG story, and we were kind of having a conversation, and he was like, I listen to every one of your episodes. I'm not really big on, and I don't see him tweet out or do that for anybody he listens to, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know who listens, and so no one asked me to live tweet. I don't have to even say, hey, this is my podcast rotation. And sometimes that gets annoying, not because of the people who are in my rotation, but because the way some people, it's not wrong of you to want me to listen, but just the entitlement that some people have, like they think I'm supposed to work harder than them to support them.
Some of these cats be trying to catch up. What I mean by that is, like, I tweet people's shows the same way you tweet like I might live tweet, or it might just come across, my mind while I'm doing something, and then I'll tweet it out. But if something just stands out to me or something like that, and sometimes when that gummy hit, I I listen to the show a little bit different, and then I just start jotting everything down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, but some people, like you said, they expect for you to like create a banner and fly it across the goddamn world saying, yo, I listened to this episode. It is one of the most. Then they want you to break it down, and yo, people stop sending me DMs talking about, did you listen to my show yet? No, I didn't. Even if I did listen to you, I'm gonna tell you I didn't, because it's like, look, bro, stop. Like,
it's I don't know. There's a professional etiquette that is lacking in the industry, and
listen, everybody got separate goals. I get it. You know what I mean?
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I will
nothing wrong with that at
never
all.
bash anybody if your goal is to become
famous.
Like I will never bash anybody, because I have my own personal goals that are going to be different than yours. So it's not that. But because I am wired the way I'm wired, I struggle. And this is not just podcasting. I struggle with the systems and structures and the politics of maybe an organization, or I just struggle with stuff like that in general, because it's flawed, and it's flawed people trying to operate in a flawed system, and the entitlement. Because the reason why I brought up is that I don't have to tweet at anybody. I don't have to tell anybody I'm listening to their show. There are plenty of people that don't tell me they listen to my show, and it's fine. You don't have to. That's not why I'm saying this. But I'm saying is, if you see me live tweeting the shows that I want to live tweet, and I do it, a lot of it is based on how their like views, for example. They say some of the funniest stuff on there, especially on their episodes that are like, not like, maybe it was going to be about something else, but the topics just go wherever. Or like, if they ain't been together all of them for a while, if somebody was like, when Skinny was not on there for a few episodes, and then they all come back together.
When they be when they be trying to say Skinny in jail without saying Skinny in jail. They be like, yeah, Skinny's on a vacation. Like, yeah, all right. Yeah, all right.
So, but when they have those are like the funniest, because it's so random, and I'm just such a fan of stuff like that, or just whatever. But I tweet those 3 shows off tops always. Like, I only listen to them when I have time to live tweet them, because I also just like interacting with them, because they'll respond and this, that, and the other. And I remember having somebody saying like, I want you to live tweet me like you do so-and-so. And it's like,
that's trash. Who
do you think you are? But it's kind of like, why do I owe that to you? Do you even listen to my show? And that's where I'm saying there's a professional etiquette lacking to. It's to the point though that, and I said this on the episode that dropped today, when people hop in my DMs and they follow me, and then I follow them back because they're a content creator, and then they send me this pitch about all the things they want me to do for them.
A paragraph.
Yeah, I have started saying, great pitch, let me make a suggestion, because everything in that thing is, it will mean a lot to me if you did this for me. Okay, cool. But I'm also a content creator. What am I getting from this? And then I end it with, if you didn't realize I'm a fellow podcaster, checking the bio of someone before you hop in their DMs is probably a good idea, because I check everyone's bio to see who. I don't just follow people just to follow people, because for one, I know some people are going to unfollow you because they just want followers. For two, who are you? Where did you come from? Like, if you don't have no tweets in the year 2021, what is going on? Like, why are you know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to deal with a bunch of foolishness on an app because that's not what I'm here for. So I don't even know how we got here
We got here trying to explain to people that look, I don't care. This is me. This is how confusing I am. It can be a little confusing. If I have a birthday party, oh, I want everybody there. But I'm also I don't need no birthday party. You know what I mean? So just understand that mindset of the number one reason why I put my podcast on Twitter is because I'm not about to record an episode and not tell you that I did an episode.
Right.
You know what I mean? Other than that, you ain't got to retweet it if you don't want to. When I tell you I am fine with my 8 listeners, I started at 9.
I was about to say that, and now
Yeah, but when I said I don't care for family members to listen to it, I probably pissed off one of my aunties. Who knows? You know what I mean? But I'm good with just that one because the fact that I know I'm gonna have 8 listeners a month is dope to me. You know what I mean? But nah, man, if you don't see me doing things that you would do, it's because I don't operate the same and I don't have the same goals as you.
Right.
So the way that I promote my stuff is probably, you know what? I take that back. I might promote your stuff better than I promote my stuff because I only tweet my episodes once a week.
I never see you tweet your episode. Like I'm subscribed and I just every morning, not every morning because I've been a little bit busier and haven't been listening to podcasts as much, but the days that I listen to podcasts, I figure out what my mood is because I have kind of like it's a bunch of different shows and it's a variety of shows and that's me in all things. I'm very eclectic when it comes to music, movies, whatever. So I'm like, what mood am I in today? And what do I want to listen to? And also, do I want to be on Twitter? Because the days where I was saying like if I can't live tweet their shows, I won't listen. If I don't feel like tweeting or don't have time to tweet, and I know I always live tweet views, sweatpants and stretch marks and OTR off the record, then I'm not going to listen to them because I don't know. It's just not the same. You know what I'm saying? Like that's part of my experience for those 3 shows. Now I do live tweet other people's stuff if they say something funny or whatever, but that's how I do it. And so I know you drop every Thursday just like I do. And so do I listen exactly on Thursday? Not always, but I do listen to every episode.
Hey, I drop on Thursdays, and views drop on Thursdays.
Yep.
What Up Though podcast drop on Thursdays. Divorce as Fuck drop on Thursdays.
Oh,
Like,
I didn't know they dropped on Thursday. I knew Views did. I do listen to Divorce as Fuck.
well, they may not. I take that back. I don't know if they drop every Thursday. I just noticed that when views drop, What Up Though drop, and I also see Divorce drop as well. And it's like I don't even listen to my own show when it drops. You know what I mean? I got a pattern of how I listen to my shows. Depending on how early I get up, I throw on views. They be the first one I listen to on Thursdays. And also I gotta get that episode out of the way. Dante, I'm talking to you, brother. As entertaining as it is, you niggas is putting out Marvel movie podcasts.
See, but how I like, because some of them are like not their show. Some shows I listen to are shorter, and some show I listen to are longer. So when I know, and I think I don't know if I told him this or who I told this before, but I know that if I like during the reporting time in my month, I'm going to be busier at work, but I'm also going to have protected time where I'm not going to have any interruptions because I have to report on all the stuff that the people have done. I like listening to long episodes because then I don't have to like I could just stay in that mode, that zone of what, the vibe that their show brings for however long, and I don't have to be switching to a bunch of different stuff, you know what I'm saying, within a day. So I just make my rotation according to, okay, am I trying to just hurry up and get a bunch of people in? Because on a day that I listen to views, I used to try to pack all these shows in, and it's not just them, because there are other long shows that I listen to, and it's kind of like I gotta put a shorter episode, you know what I'm saying, after them, or shorter episodes, or I might not listen to as many podcasts that day, especially because I live tweet their stuff. So
look, no, like you don't have to be modest. I'll say it for you. You know what I mean? And whatever comes your way, just send it to me. Okay.
What are you about to say?
Hey, only the dopest drop on Thursdays, baby. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, don't do that, because sweatpants and stretch marks drops on Tuesday, and you said they were dope.
Well, look, and that's the thing. So, and everybody consumes podcasting differently. You know what I mean? And shout out to views. I'm not complaining about how long the episode is, because you still have priority over certain podcasts. Like if I don't finish that first hour, then when I gotta go, clean the dishes out or something like that, going straight back to views. I'm just saying, I want to get to other people's podcasts too. You gotta stop being stingy with all the time. You know what I'm saying?
I'm like that with my rotation, where when I tweet out my rotation, if I don't finish it all in, and that's why I started making my rotation shorter and more realistic. But if I don't finish like their episode because I get interrupted, then when I get back to podcasts, I just hit play and stick with the rotation until it's complete. And then that might mean that the next day, man, one time it was like I got way off track and didn't listen to the rest of them till the next day, but I still finished it. Like I don't be out here saying, oh, this is the rotation, and then I really don't listen to it. And like forget that, yo. There's been twice.
I'm like, you got it, because they will, and he's a little sensitive.
But you know what? Nah, because they've given me a shout out on their show, tore my name off.
Oh, like, get them.
I tweeted at them, and then I sent a voice memo like, this is how you say it. But that's beside the point.
Sometimes you got them two cats, you got to set trip off. And remember, you got to hit Stone first, because he's the big one. You always want to take the muscle out.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. But with their show, there's been a couple times where I've tried to, and it happens to other podcasts, where Apple Podcasts will say the episode isn't available or some dumb stuff like that, even though I don't know, it's weird. So I might not listen to it then, but I make sure that I do, you know what I'm saying, listen to it, because I try to be authentic about, like, I'm not tweeting at y'all to get anything from y'all. I'm tweeting at y'all really, hey, everyone else, this is what I'm listening to. You might want to check it out, especially if I'm live tweeting and you think it's funny.
You know what it really is, though? I'm gonna put a lot of people up on how I listen to podcasting, is that if I know you have a podcast where it may not even be majority of the podcast, but if there's a certain percentage of these social topics that's going around, I'm not gonna lie to you, I try to hurry up and not hurry, that's the wrong word I'm trying to use, but I try to keep it in my podcast pattern and listen to it as much as I can, because if we get to the next week and I haven't listened to it or I haven't finished listening to it, I rarely go back. And that's mainly because I don't want to hear about old news. And in today's world, what happened yesterday is old today. You know what I mean? So unless it's one of those episodes where it was based off of experience, something in the past, something creative or something like that, I always go back to those. And I've actually made amateur podcasting more of a priority over the professional podcast episodes. So I just try to hurry up and get through it, You know what I'm saying? But when you got what up though, and forget that yo, and views from the 7, and they all have 2+ hours or something. Well, forget that yo. I think they cut their time down. But between
Mm.
between what up though and views, that's a solid 5 to 6 hours. Solid 5. They got me occupied. But yo, if we get to that next week, and I got like 32 minutes left on this episode, eh, it's not looking good. I say.
Yeah, it's a mine is always it's based on my mood. It's I don't listen to and I have my I listen to you every week shows, but then I have my I don't listen to you maybe every week, but I listen to you a couple times a month or once a month or like I listen to you, but I have my these are the regulars. And then, some new people slide in because they see me tweeting out my rotation and they'll be like, "Oh, well, how can I get on the rotation?" I'm all for listening to new people. Drop your link. You know what I'm saying? If you're not going to drop
Hey,
your
but tell the
link,
new people though, if your personality ain't, then
I'm not, I'm not,
I'm gonna cut it off quick. And look, you already behind the 8 ball. If you talking about if most of the topics is the same topics that I've already heard on other episodes, I'm just letting you know off the rip. Like I don't care if you send it to me and then you send me a paragraph and then you send me a paycheck, depending on how much money. But depending on how much money you send me, I might. I might be a yes man. But outside of that, no, like if you sit up there talking about the same stuff, it's gonna be very hard. Your personality, your delivery gotta be fire.
I'll just pick a different episode because when it comes to trending, which actually, if I'm honest though, I don't listen to the podcasts that I listen to are not solely usually focused on trending topics. It might come up if it's something like, I don't know, very pressing, but usually it's other stuff mixed within that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like the whole focus. I'm trying to think. Nope, I don't really listen to any that are like that. A lot of my favorites are people that talk about their life, people that just talk because you feel like you get to know them or like they're talking to you or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You feel you could get a feel for people's personality to a degree because I know there is a level of entertaining and there is a level of whatever in it. But you can, I feel like, kind of get to know somebody a little bit differently if their show is not like solely based on, like, let's say it's true crime or something. Like we'll use All Docked Up versus Shenanigans with Friends. It's like Chris is the same in, she's her in both shows, but it's just different sides of her.
Mhm.
Because All Docked Up is about a documentary and it's about them breaking that down, going through the documentary and like their reaction to it, whereas Shenanigans with Friends is her talking about the crazy news stories.
She on there game banging. She on there so tripping. Hey, well, like, don't we ain't got to sugarcoat it with me. I know how dangerous she is.
You just
We
really
know Chris is dangerous. We know this.
you are funny. But um so yeah, it's like different, different sides of, and then like her and Penrose did this live show with, I don't even know what the podcast.
Let me tell you something about Penrose. He eat candy corn. It's nothing about his spirit that I could trust.
Stop it.
Nothing. Nothing. That man enjoys
And I
candy corn.
know he eats candy corn, but I look aside. Some people make different choices, and I just accept that that's just who he is as a person. That he's
We was taught as a child, like this was a lie. Hip hop told us that, snitching is bad. I'm tell you right now, me and Penrose, we commit a crime together. I'm telling on Penrose.
wow.
He's candy corn. Nobody accepts that. Nobody. You deserve to go to jail, brother.
Oh my gosh. But no, him and Chris did this live show with somebody. I don't even know what the podcast name was. I went because obviously she said she had a live show and I wanted to watch it. But even that was a different side because it was almost like you had to pick who was the worst person, and it was like almost like March Madness brackets, but with evil people and who is the most terrible person. I don't know. It was interesting. So you just see different sides of people, and then like getting to know her just as a friend. It's just interesting. But I say all that to say that's why a lot of my favorite shows are the ones where people are just kind of talking about their life, and it's not topic driven or just sports or just whatever.
It's cool to know that people got problems.
Yeah, and that you're not the only one.
That you're not the only one. That
Mhm.
they all go through similar things. So it's crazy because I like the people that hit me up about those episodes, and it's like, well, how come we don't understand each other?
Mm.
We all got the same issue. Why we don't understand each other? That's a whole nother story, though. I don't want to get deep.
Yeah, but that's why my show is generally the way it's because I don't want people to feel alone. And I let me circle back to my listeners. I'm not saying don't hit me up if something I said spoke to you. I've said on here before, I love genuine feedback about something specific. You ain't got to break down the whole episode. If one thing I said stood out to you, I appreciate that.
No,
If
let them misunderstand everything that you said. Because I can't stand people that be like, he said this. Do you even know why I said that? You know, what I mean? Did you hit me up and say, what do you mean by this? No, you said this, buddy, pal. Man, shut up.
But as I was saying, y'all, as you can see, he sets trips more than I do at all, and yet he be trying to say I'm violent, but I'm non-violent.
It's always the quiet ones you need to watch out for.
Here we go. But yeah, I'm not saying don't hit me up, but it's just when people are just like, I listened to your show. Okay, okay, thanks. I mean, I don't know I don't know. It's just I don't know what you want me to do with that information. But that's how I am with all things. Like my mind when things happen is like, okay, what is the purpose of this comment, this whatever? If you don't tell me what it is, I'm an overthinker and I'm going to come up with my own conclusion. That's probably not what you meant. You know what I'm saying? So if you just say some blanket thing, I don't really know what you want me to do with that. And so that's when I'm like, okay, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Because I do appreciate it, but man, I remember one time
I'm working on a generic answer for that though.
I've had to learn to master. I don't want to say master the art of, what do I want to call it? Small talk, I guess is a good way to put it. I can't stand small talk at all.
Well, I will say this. Shout out to my boy Be Honest. And I started using it and I told my wife I was going to start using it. So now we both use it now. He is actually a person that don't want to be on the phone for a long time, but me and him did talk for a while because we haven't spoken a while. But the one thing that he said that I'm going to use for the rest of my entire life is that, there was a point where there's nothing else to talk about. There's literally nothing else to talk about. And he said, I've got nothing else. And I was like, you know what? I love that honesty.
Yeah.
So now when me and my wife is talking on the phone and me and my wife talk on the phone, we could talk on the phone all day. You know what I mean? And then there's times where we can only talk maybe once or twice during the day.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's gotten to the point where it's like, look, if we don't have nothing to talk about, even though we haven't talked to each other in like some hours or something like that, check this out. I have nothing. I have nothing to talk about. I have nothing else. And then just get off the phone. That's the same with the tweets. If you tweet me something generic like, I just listened to your episode. Period. I'm gonna say I'm just gonna like your comment.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. The more you put into the tweet, the more I'm gonna put into the reply.
That's kind of how I am. And that's why, and I said this on here before, and I even tweeted this out when people who are they're regulars in my rotation would ask me, "Oh, let me know what you think about the episode." Every time I listen, I started to get not irritated, but I'm just like, I don't think people realize that I'm not just going to say, "Oh, it's dope." I'm going to tell you something specific that I got from or whatever if I feel like I want to give feedback. But if I'm trying to just listen to a podcast, not as background music, but kind of because it helps, like I'm ADD and it helps me focus when I'm working, I'm not trying to think about really what you said all like that to give you feedback. So just know that if you're a regular in my rotation, I like your show. I'm not listening to you because of anything. There are people that maybe were in my rotation in the beginning of my podcast listening that for whatever reason are no longer in it. There's no rhyme or reason because it's various factors that don't even matter. If you're a regular in my rotation, though, just understand that I like your show. So
Uh-huh.
that's what I think of it. And there have been people that have asked me to listen to their show, and I've listened to that one episode and then didn't listen again because it just wasn't something that I wanted. And I don't tell them because I'm not trying to be mean, but there are people that don't listen to my show, and there are people that I listen to their show, they probably don't listen to my show, and it just is what it is. What's for you is for you. But my listeners that are loyal and you come here for all of this, you've heard me complain about the politics of the industry and all that, and you're a podcaster, but you understand my heart. I appreciate you because you are my people. You come here for this authenticity and whatever.
Uh-huh.
But if you don't like that, that's okay. I can only give y'all what I got, like I always say. That's why these movie reviews always go all over the place because that's who I am as a person. But y'all expect this. So
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, we're gonna somehow tie this in. So
yeah, you know what
don't
I'm
judge us. If you do judge us, just know that we 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 probably don't care. Look, let me
saying? And
tell
just
you,
know that next month when we do another movie review, it's gonna be about the exact same
it's gonna
thing.
be the same thing. It's gonna be the same thing. Let me tell you, these are the top two reasons why I would turn a podcast off. Uh, Male bashing, women bashing too, but it seemed like I come across a lot of podcasts when they do have this. I want to go down this rabbit hole. They tend to go down the men ain't shit rabbit hole. I'll turn it right off. I'm sick of it
That makes
because. But then there's the one that when they choose to say when they tend to troll a certain person or music movie or something like that, but they stay on it and they say outrageous stuff just because they know that they're going to get attention to it. I'll probably turn that off too.
Mm.
Like I get like me, I will joke about something that I may not really like or something like that, but I'm not going to stay on it. And I don't attack celebrities like that. Like I might critique them, but I don't attack them like because their fan base is listening. You know what I mean? Like to me, I don't really care for that. That's why when I hear people shows and they talk about certain athletes or celebrities that they might know that I like and they keep going in, I'm like, are you saying this because you really don't like them or are you just saying this because you're trying to piss the fan base off? I'll just turn it off.
The only time I turn off podcasts is if, and I can only think of two shows that I and didn't listen to them again because okay, my show is random, you know what I'm saying? even when it's supposed to be about something, it still becomes random because of who I am as a person. But from what I've been told, because I don't know how y'all feel unless people tell me, is that though it's random or though it's whatever, and they don't even use that disclaimer, is that I'm talking to y'all. Like when you listen, you feel like I'm talking to you or whatever, that I guess I just do well at, I guess, carrying myself on the mic. Even when my shows are random, it's still me talking about something. Like I can talk about the whatever. I can think of 2 shows that I listen to. I'm not gonna name them because it doesn't matter. Because I'm not really about bashing anybody, celebrities aside. I'm just not trying to be mean. But since we're on this subject, is the first one was they just kept saying what they were going to talk. Like I was gonna do an episode about this, but then and I kept listening, trying to see if, and it just, I don't know. I don't know. So there was that. And then another one that was supposed to be a sports one that was kind of similar to that. So it's like, I don't know if, I mean, and everybody has to find their way. I've even grown as a podcaster. So I'm not, but you have to be engaging to keep, like, if you can't keep my attention, and I'm very eclectic when it comes to whatever, but when I'm listening, I don't want to have a bunch of questions because I'm an overthinker. I just want to be able to listen. And we could even tie this back to the acting piece when I said, if you're an actor and you make me forget that this isn't real. But if I'm listening to your show and you're just talking about what you were gonna do, and that's the whole episode, okay. I mean, I don't understand. I don't know. You know, you got to make me forget that it's not, I don't know.
We got to. You about to make me forget the whole episode. That's what you're about to do. But I mean, look, man. That's podcasting for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think to bring it all the way back around.
Yeah, let's get away from podcasting.
This is why Bender is an asshole, because we didn't give him all of the attention this episode.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we called him a bully, which he was. He was an asshole.
I wouldn't classify him as a bully though. And the only reason why is because when you watched him be mean, well, no, because then when he said he wasn't gonna laugh, and he didn't laugh, but then you could tell he was trying to tear her down, and then after you done smoked with him, laughed with him, then you, go back to bringing up what they said about how he didn't matter. I guess you kind of,
and you gotta think about it like this. The only reason why he didn't fully set Trip like he wanted to is because there was an athlete in there that was ready to tear off in him. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he knew he wasn't gonna win that fight physically. Right. So you got a picture of what about all the other times that he was in detention with another group of kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It is just that this were a special group of kids that all shared their experiences at home and things like that, showed their struggles and their flaws, and they didn't really back down. You know what I mean? And that will always be, you know, even though I know that's not a real, it's not a real group. You would think that those characters, you know, continue to be friends after that. You know what I mean?
I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What strain do you think they were smoking? Because this dude Andrew was hotboxing in the library, or I don't know, whatever that room was, the quiet reading room. This man came out, started stripping, flipping, tumbling, karate kicking, then went back in the hot box room, screamed, broke the glass, but everybody else was chilling. So I didn't
That's
understand
gotta be an OG Kush. Gotta be gotta be OG Kush or something because whatever they had, it was good. Either that or they tolerance is trash.
it. Yeah.
But I can relate to that type of energy.
Man, and I'm just like, man, Vernon should have got fired. It was a hole in the ceiling. The glass was broken. All these things happened while you off doing whatever, being nosy in the
They they
basement.
those kids also pointed his flaws out too. Also pointed, that he wasn't that wasn't a positive figure for
No,
them.
no, not at all.
You
And
know
he
what I mean?
wasn't there for the right reasons. Like, and the Carl, the janitor, pointed that out when they were talking. It's like, ooh, I make $30,000. I own a home and this, that, and the other. But do you even like kids? Because first of all, you didn't even take attendance. I don't believe that you were that involved in them kids' lives that you just knew that who each of them were to know that they were supposed to be there. Because then you should have known that Allison wasn't supposed to be here. So
Mhm.
you like really didn't care about the kids, like the way he belittled Bender and talked to all of them was just like, I've worked with youth and I know teenagers can be hard, but you're doing more damage to them than they could ever do to you because you're supposed to be an authority figure and a role model and you're not. Like,
Right,
you
right,
didn't care about them kids. You down there trying to get dirt on teachers while they up there getting high. I'm surprised they didn't have sex, and probably only because it was the 80s that they didn't.
right.
Because had that been in
It
the
was
90s, 2000s,
that would have been going a little bit
man,
different.
oh yeah,
A
off
little bit
top.
different.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I thought it was cool too. That the people that they paired up were the opposites, not opposites attract, but the people that really brought out the best in the other person. Like with Allison and Andrew, she's the one who point out to him, like, bruh, why do you do what everybody says? Which ultimately, if they stay in that relationship, would make him a better man. And then same thing with Claire and Bender, where I feel like she gave him, I don't want to say nurturing, but like that.
She made him feel special.
Yeah, she gave him that. And he would be somebody that she could just be herself with. And he would encourage that. And it wouldn't be this do what your friends do. It'd be like, why
Right.
do what you want to do?
Because even though he's been probably getting physically and verbally abused at home, is straightforward. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And the one thing that she's attracted to is that like you're not going to cater to me.
Right.
And you being an actual asshole right now is as in a weird way attractive.
Because it's not that fake love. Like, you want people, like, I got a homie now. It's not I'm attracted to him like that, but I got a homie that what I appreciate about him is that even though sometimes I'll be like, bruh, who do you think you are? But he's going to tell me, even like I was trying to move, I remember, and I was being super picky about, whatever. But then we were staying in a hotel and I was like complaining about that. And he kind of let me kind of have my little whatever. And then after a while, he was like, well, I think you're being too picky and you need to just da 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 da. And just, it's only a year. If you don't want to, live there after a year, whatever. But if you're tired of being here, then you need to stop being so picky. And I was irritated because I'm like, nigga, who the, but it was true. You know what I'm saying? And then in other things, he'll just speak that hard truth. And we've known each other forever. So he knows how my personality can be and whatever. I mean, and I appreciate that though, because it's authentic and I know you're just going to give me the truth. You're not going to, try to, I don't know, cater to me or sugarcoat stuff or just tell me what you think I want to hear. You're going to tell me what I need to hear, even if I don't really want to hear it. So
Mhm.
I could definitely see, especially when you're in the popular crowd and everybody is just so fake and everybody's about just being popular and maintaining your image and this, that, and the other. It's a fake world, you know what I'm saying? So I could see where, yeah, she brought out the softer side of him. He helped her not woman up, but kind of stand on her own. And I liked seeing that because, well, a lot of times what you would have saw in the movies is you would have saw her get with Andrew and Allison get with Bender, and like that's what you would expect. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I like how they did that.
I mean, but look, they got to keep that formula or whatever, and they shape the world like that. Like I didn't go to school with any white kids or whatever, so
Really?
um, no, we didn't have no white kids in the inner city.
Wow.
They all went to like put it to you like South Central is called South Central for a
Oh,
reason because it's in the
yeah.
middle, right? And then, but they're more on like on the outskirts. You know what I mean? Like the most of the schools that were in my district, it was either black and Hispanic or full Hispanic. Not, I wouldn't. I'd never say there was a school where there was 100% Hispanic kids. There may have been, I don't know, 5% black kids, but
Mm,
there never were. There's not a school that was in my district that had white kids at all.
mm,
It went into my senior year where, sports, they started to get like some recruits from out of the district. And then I remember it was like this popular thing where we had got a white quarterback and then Crenshaw had got a white quarterback. And that was a big thing because majority of Crenshaw High is black kids.
mm.
You know what I mean? So for them to have a white student, like, yeah, we talking about Baldwin Hills. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? And I remember his nickname, they called him Milk.
Mm.
We was bad. Cause we called our Private Ryan,
Oh my
Saving Private Ryan. So
gosh.
yeah, that's how foreign white kids were to us. Like in middle school, I remember there was a white kid that checked in. We called him Peckerwood,
Mm,
and it was like if you was white and we seen you, you got a nickname. Everybody got a nickname, but it was very rare that when we played, basketball teams, we might play a team outside of LA or something like that that had white kids, but.
mm,
Yeah, but our school was broken down into you had the jocks and stuff like that, but we didn't. It wasn't set up like how the movie set it up. You know what I mean?
mm.
Especially, we had gang members, and some of the gang members played basketball and football, and then you had the popular black kids, but it was a gang of us though. You know what I mean? Then you have like the gothic kids, and then you got the
There
essays,
were
and then
gothic black kids.
yeah,
See,
yeah,
now
yeah.
that was, I can think of one in
No,
my,
no, there the majority were Hispanic, but there were some black.
and even she was she. Yeah, I can only think of one black girl who was gothic. But then again, my school, it's not like it was a predominantly black school, but I know we all fit into, you know what I'm saying? The stereotype is the stereotype, but there's always somebody that breaks the stereotype. So I know that's a thing, but I just, it's rarer than,
Is rare than a white kid being at my high school. The only thing that was white at my high school was the teachers.
Hmm.
So
Were there
yeah,
black teachers?
yeah, we had black teachers. We had black teachers, Hispanic teachers, and white teachers.
See, I remember I had a black chorus teacher in middle school, Mr. Johnson. I don't remember having a black teacher in high school. I don't remember.
Really?
Yeah, and it doesn't mean there wasn't. I'm asking my homegirl, but I don't remember. But then my memory isn't always the greatest. Oh no, but I remember because I feel like I would have remembered it because I remember him in middle school. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like that would have stood out to me. So I'm gonna ask my homegirl.
It wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that some of the teachers that I came in contact with, I mean, all the way down to grade school, were either stupid old or young, but I just didn't know how young they were because I'm a kid.
Right.
So if you're 23 years old, that's old to me at the
Mhm.
time, but that's very young. And I remember we had a teacher, um, homeroom teacher, and oh man, oh buddy. I didn't realize at the time she probably was like in her mid 20s,
Mm.
and we're teenagers. Man, we used to walk in that homeroom like faithfully. It was Miss Williams, and boy, oh boy,
And
yeah,
you gotta be responsible when you have those scenarios because just recently we at my daughter's school, a teacher, and I wonder if they caught him yet, but he had a felony warrant for I can't remember what the charge was, but basically I don't know if he actually had sex with the student or if he just had inappropriate messages with her.
was he the try coach?
Uh
Because they are the leaders in
I'm trying
messing
to
with.
think if he was, because they did say he did a sport. I think I had to look. He was my daughter's history teacher last year, and it made me mad when we got the email and then I got the news pop up because like I met him at parent teacher conferences. He's like, you often get them vibes when somebody has them pedophile vibes, and he didn't have that. And so it proves that not everybody is what they seem. Of course, we already know that, but like the crazy thing about it is he's married, and he's like, I don't know, maybe in his 30s or whatever, has a young baby, like a baby. So they have, he's like a new parent. He might even be in his late 20s. But it's like I remember when I used to work at this after school program, and there was a young person that I worked with who's a teacher, and he didn't do anything at all. Let me make that very absolutely clear because some of the people that either worked there or used to work there might be listening. So that is not what I'm saying. But one of the kind of like advice I gave him, because he's a young black man wasn't that far away in age from some of the people, is I was just like, make sure you have very clear boundaries, make sure you are just be careful, because I would hate for somebody to try to, like, I always think like somebody might lie on you. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like he wasn't like that at all. And I made sure I was clear when we had this conversation. But yeah, you got to protect yourself because you could even have where a girl likes you or a boy likes you or whatever. I remember when I was doing gang intervention, I had this 19-year-old kid. Now, I did gang intervention when I was 30. Let's see, I'm 41 now. I was 37, so it's not like I was young, but I know I don't look my age, but I'm still grown. You know what I'm saying? And I text him to cancel an appointment because I had a funeral to go to the next day, or to reschedule it. And he was like, all right, see you Tuesday, cutie. And I never responded to it. I screenshot it, sent it to my boss, and I was like, I'm not working with him anymore because all of our interactions were one-on-one. It's just me and him. Sometimes you're riding in my car. Like I had to take him to get his state ID so he could get a job. I'm meeting with you one-on-one. No, because I know I like to joke, I like to laugh, I like to whatever. I don't need you mistaking anything that I say for anything. And I remember my boss, he's like, hey, I support you, whatever decision you want to make. Do you want to talk to him about it? And I was like, no, I don't feel comfortable because I don't know what would make him think that's okay. And now I'm going to question all of our interactions going forward, and I don't need that. And so he was like, okay. He said the probation officer tried to be like, oh, well, I'll talk to him. No, and I was right, because then when my boss took over, he texted me and was like, man, why you give me away? I don't want to work with him. And I still just didn't respond because you way too attached we ain't even worked together like that for you to be that worried about me being I'm good. You gotta protect yourself. It don't even always be the teachers, but at the flip side of that, it is literally, and I'm a person that a lot of times I try to rationalize and understand why people do what they do. But pedophiles who are teachers or any type of career field where you work with kids, where almost like you're choosing, man, that is literally the most disgusting thing in the world to me, because it's like you're supposed to be protecting, guiding, being a role model to these kids. You're damaging kids when you are behaving inappropriately with them. You're not teaching them, like a lot of times, like for me as someone who was molested as a child, I didn't have proper boundaries with men for years because of what happened to me. So that's why I feel like so strongly about this. But thank God, they talk about it more now. You know what I'm saying?
They talk about it a whole lot.
Because the mindset that my daughters have versus the mindset that I have, I just thank God my daughters are who they are and think the way they think and talk to me about stuff. Kayliana's 18. She's told me where like a 28-year-old or something tried to talk to her, and her thing to him was, I was just in high school last month. What is wrong with you?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, which, yeah, what is wrong with you? But if you don't know any better, they'll, oh, you're so mature. Oh, you're so, nah. Mm-mm. You ain't mature. You can't even barely keep your room clean.
You can't even get in the club.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't even drink. So you're going to provide alcohol to a minor so you could get them drunk because they're so mature that you want to be with them.
Nasty Nates.
Like,
Nasty Nates.
I just, yeah. So, crazy. All right. We are going to go ahead and wrap this show up. Breakfast Club is my favorite movie, though. It truly is. Bender is my favorite character. Before, it was for different reasons. As I watched it again today, it was different. Like, the compassion that I see him display because of what he's been through. Also, like, when you think about school shooting and all that we know about now that we didn't know about in the 80s, but although who knows, it could have been going on, but I didn't hear about it. But I just think that with what he's been through, he chose a, I guess, better route to deal with it by numbing it with drugs and, yeah, bullying a little, but not, it's like it was bullying if it came to that. He didn't really just come in the room bullying everybody. It's when he was kind of provoked that he kind of, clapped back or whatever. And so I don't know. He's my favorite character. I say a second one would be Brian, simply because I feel like watching it today, Brian was the one who was like, I would still talk to y'all regardless, I'm not going to let my friends dictate whatever. And then when she tried to say, oh, well, you look up to us. And he's like, why are you so conceited? Like, and he even tried to warn Andrew, like, this girl has problems, like, about
Mhm.
Allison. So it's like he was very kind of logical, level-headed, even when he got high, you know what I'm saying? So yeah,
I,
dope.
I had a lot of I had a lot of compassion for Allison. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Because I've seen those students before a lot. You know, on every level.
Hmm.
And it's just sad because I don't, even though like we had jokes in high school and we was brutal too. You know what I mean? Like it was real brutal. Considering what they how sensitive today it's
Hmm.
it we were real bad back then. And but I never did enjoy, or I never did like people who got picked on who couldn't defend for themselves. You know what I
Right.
mean? And the ones that just and they end up being cool. And sometimes you don't really figure that out until you graduate high school,
Hmm.
or meet them in college, or just meet them under different circumstances outside of school. You know
Right.
what I mean? They can end up being just a cool person. And you find that out by just talking to people in general. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody had different status in high school. You know what I mean? Everybody that you meet wasn't a part of that popular crowd, and they end up being the coolest people in general.
Right.
Um, Overall, yeah, Breakfast Club is definitely in my top 5 all time.
Hmm.
And I'm a fool for, like, you can't tell me nothing about the movies that came out in the 80s.
Right.
Like we can sit up there, and the reason why I say a lot of 80s movies age well is because of the content. They
Mm.
had to be creative back then.
Oh yeah.
Now, as far as the special effects, yeah, I sit up there and laugh at it. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? The scary movies is less scarier now
Oh yeah.
because the stuff they had to work with back then was like, but they had to be creative though.
Hmm.
And that's why we got cult classics like The Breakfast Club. As a matter of fact, I can't think of his real name, but let me pull it up. Because it was actually in one of my other favorite movies. All right, so um, Brian, who was played by Anthony Michael Hall, was also the star in Weird Science. Which is,
Oh, yep, yep.
yeah, so which is one of my favorite movies as well. But the movies that just those two movies alone, and they came out the same year. Just see how creative those movies were.
The
You know what I mean?
Goonies is one of my
Oh,
other.
go man, come
Yeah,
on, the Goonies.
I got that DVD as well. I watched The Breakfast Club and the Goonies the same day. And it was on in the laundromat today when we were there, so it's kind of funny because I was watching The Breakfast Club in my car, and then, but yeah, the Goonies, that aged well because when I was a kid, I was out there trying to have adventures and trying to
Yeah,
like play and
kids was different.
go. Yeah, like there was this tunnel. I remember me and my younger brother. So not Cedric. We have a brother who's closer to my age, who's only 3 years younger than me, and we used to like go in these tunnels and these that was near where we live, and just to explore. We used to just be out, like when we lived in base housing, going off to the golf course or just going everywhere far away that anything could have happened, but I wasn't worried about that because I was a kid and I was just trying to have adventures. Like I would always, like, I was a tomboy when I was younger, so I was always hanging with the boys, going to do whatever. And
Climbing a
yeah.
fence or two.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I just tweeted out. I'm gonna stick by this. I stand by this. I think the '80s in general age well.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Even down, even I ain't gonna say that. I ain't
I
gonna say
think
that.
also because they're trying to like redo a
The
lot of
80s.
stuff now. Yeah, like and I'm not saying that things in the 80s weren't, especially when you get into music. I'm not saying things weren't inspired by older time, but there wasn't as much time of stuff to be inspired by because it was 40-30 years ago, so like technology and all that stuff was not quite as advanced as it is now. But all the redoing, like, man,
But that's why I said the 80s was great because prior to the 80s, um, everything was just damn near black and white.
how many Spider-Man movies have they like? And I
Yo, I'm
like
so sick of that.
Spider-Man,
I'm so sick
but
of
they've
that.
restarted it. Like, how long this dude gonna be in high school?
Yeah, that's
You
a
know what I
fact.
mean? And that was confusing to me at first because I was like, what is happening? You know, so stuff like that. They're just like redoing things that it's like
They
you need
they
to
they
just
don't
leave
want to
it
be
where it's at.
they don't want to be creative like the 80s. I mean, the scary movies went to a certain level in the 80s. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? The action flicks. The 80s is loaded with great movies.
But
I'm
they
talking about
had to the scary movies had to rely on music because if you muted a scary movie, it was not really that scary. Jason walking
oh,
through the woods on mute was just a slow dude walking through the
if you turn the lights on and turn it down and
yeah,
listen to a podcast while it's not scary. The
yeah.
sound effects and you're right, the sound, all
The
that stuff.
storyline kind of, I don't want to say made more sense, but it was a lot more simpler to where you couldn't poke as many holes in it. But at the same time, when you think about something like Jason, it's like, except for when Jason, I think he went to New York or whatever, and when he went against Freddy. So that aside, if you just didn't go to Crystal Lake, you didn't have to worry about
You
it.
ain't have
You
to
know what
worry
I'm
about it
saying?
unless you was in Manhattan
Yeah.
when Jason
That
went to
one time
Manhattan.
he was there, you know what I'm
Yeah, but outside of that, bro, like and then with Freddie, I just tell people all the time, don't go to sleep, duh.
saying? Right. But yeah, it's like they had to be it had to be more about the storyline. Whereas now, I mean, even when you get into because there's another Fast and the Furious movie coming out, which I am gonna watch
Is it number 21?
number 9. And
Damn.
Han is back, which we thought he was dead, but really technically we
If you
didn't
want to
see
talk about an abusive relationship,
it. But the reason I brought that up is because now when it was them racing and all that, that made sense. Even though I still watch the movies, but I'm still gonna say what I
but
say.
when they started to drag bank votes,
When they became y'all going against uh people who are trained killers, like y'all,
trained assassins,
yeah.
and then y'all jumping out of airplanes
I
into
was about
different
to
countries.
say that.
What happened to the racing, bro?
Yeah, like you cyber attacking and once they got into all that, though I
No
still
longer,
watch them.
it's no longer fast anymore. You got to
No,
get just furious.
yeah,
That's
it's
it.
and that's what I'm saying. Like you've strayed away from what you presented yourself to be, and you're adding stuff that like really just doesn't even make sense at all.
Eject
And
your feet, cuz.
and then the thing about it, like because people like to make this comparison, and it's so funny because we talked about this on the last one. I think we brought them up. But when you think about Snowfall and Power,
Mm-hmm.
Snowfall, and I love Snowfall. The acting is phenomenal. The writing is phenomenal. And I get it that, and I love Power, and y'all know I love Power. And when it comes out, and I'm gonna watch every Power spinoff and every whatever because I love Power. So I don't know. I'm just a fan of. I don't know because I started watching Queen of
You're a
the
fan.
South,
You're a fan. You're a fan
thugs,
drama and
yeah,
violence. Yeah, we love to see
and
it.
drugs and all that.
Mhm.
But Power, like Snowfall makes sense, even when it didn't make sense to me in the first few episodes. When I was like, "There's four different storylines that they're not tied to. I don't understand why are they showing this?" But each storyline made sense, and somebody was like, "Don't worry, they're gonna all come together and
All
it'll
gonna
make
tie
sense."
in. Yeah.
Yeah, but because each storyline was believable, it's like, okay, y'all got me in y'all world. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everything about what they're doing is realistic. Whereas Power, there was stuff that wasn't realistic. Like, how is everybody a sharpshooter? You know what I'm saying?
Not just that, bro. How are you like where are you at to know that I'm at the cemetery?
That too.
Like, come on, bro. Like every time I come to the cemetery, you at the
Yeah,
cemetery?
like there was no timeline or no like
Yeah.
it didn't. Yeah, there were things. I love Power though, but I say that to say Snowfall is based in the 80s.
Well,
So
that's what I was gonna say. You gotta shoot Power some bail because by Snowfall being shot in the 80s, they have stuff to build on.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And then there's stories that can be told about the 80s to help those episodes.
yeah,
Whereas Power is in today's time.
yeah. But
So
no, that was wild.
they
Yeah.
gotta create some stuff.
So that's what I was saying. Like that was based in the 80s. That's why I use those two shows because people like to compare them, but it's like the storyline had to be simpler for Snowfall, but it's really complex, really, but it had to be the way it is because of what it's based on and when it's based versus like the whole I'll never forget the episode when Dre was in the safe house and they came shooting them up and it's like how did you find that and then he killed Donovan and just all this stuff that happened. It's just like I
Yeah,
mean like
Casby, like, nah, man, nah. They always in the background or something like how?
yeah,
How are you not on the other side of town at home or something?
yeah. So but yeah, Breakfast Club though, it definitely if you haven't ever seen it and you've been under some rock, especially if
You
you're
missing
around
out on
my
you
age,
missing out on life,
yeah,
man.
it's a really, really, really good movie. I even left off some, I had a whole bunch of notes because there's just so much to the movie, but highly recommend you watch it because it's still applicable now. Like it's not something that doesn't make sense now. It actually makes even more sense to me now as an adult than it did as a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But like you said, if you haven't seen this and then you see Bender, the first thing that you probably think of because of the world we live in after 85, well, I honestly after 99,
Mm-hmm.
you gonna think that he's a school shooter. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
And I never thought that. Really, I didn't think that until today because I was watching it with a mind of I'm going to talk about this. You know what I'm saying? So I watched it with a different, I guess, a movie.
I never looked at it from that standpoint because I always, when I look at movies, especially if they're old classics, I look at it as if I was looking at it during that time period.
Mm,
I don't necessarily, and I don't judge it off of 2021 eyes. I don't do that because if I know the movie was made in the 80s, I'm not about to sit up here and compare it to a movie that was made in 2019. Like
right.
that wouldn't make any sense. You
Yeah.
go back to these cult classics because this is what you grew up off of, and you're smart enough to know that technology wasn't there. And that, you know what? That's even more fascinating to me. Is like, yo, they really tried.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you really tried to make me convinced that her skin was coming off, and all this was just some trash. Whatever you just, I don't know what y'all was doing, but this looks. Oh my god! If you watch, what's the honest word? I cannot think. Terminator. Oh my god, the special effects on that is so trash.
I gotta read
But
that.
but I don't look at it like I'm not looking at it to trash it. It's just I notice it. Like, yeah, bro, y'all tried it though.
Now the interesting thing is that I don't intentionally set out to be like, okay, I'm 40 now. I'm going to watch this and critique it. It's just because I'm 40 now and I am an overthinker. When I'm watching things, I can't help but to, and it's not even about what year it is. It's about like, dang, that's really messed up. Like, we'll use the principal, for example, Vernon. Dang, that's messed up that you're a principal and you talking, you know what I'm saying? And you really don't care about kids. You definitely don't care about Bender. And you know he has a broken home. And yet, so like, it's just me as an adult understanding toxic things within stuff that I didn't necessarily like. I knew that was messed up as a kid, but I understand it differently how much more messed up it is. Just like I don't Bad Boys, understanding the relationship dynamic between him and his wife, that I mean, it was entertaining before, but now I have questions like, well, dang, what is really been going, you know what I'm saying? So that's more so. It don't have nothing to do with 2021. It's just how I've progressed as an adult, and I just think a little bit more critically about stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yep. So tell the people where to find y'all. You, I mean.
I'm about to say,
Shout out to Cedric.
hey, if you know something I don't know, like let me know.
Nah, it's just habit. Nah, shout out to Cedric though. He'll be back, y'all. Just ain't no openings. Gang, close set. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, shout out to Sad, man.
Yep.
Yeah, at Baylorism on Twitter and at Baylor the Great on anything else. And shout out, speaking of movies, man, shout out to Black Horror Humor. I'm a part of that, but we deal mostly with horror flicks or horror shorts. You know what I mean? So speaking of the 80s, who had the best run with horror flicks all time, Black Horror Humor. That's where you find me on Sundays.
And y'all know where to find me. If you're new and you don't know where to find me, thank you for tuning in. New episodes drop every Thursday. Normally I talk about my life and how I'm trying to grow, which you kind of got that vibe in this episode. Make sure y'all take care of your mental and emotional health. You know, there's a lot going on, especially with us continuing to just be exposed to the violence and the police brutality, and even with the George Floyd trial, going on, which I kind of refuse to watch that because I'm just, I don't.
You're over it.
Yeah, it's not like, yeah, it is. It's like I am over it. Like, not like I don't care, but I'm just like, dog, like, why is this still a thing?
You gotta protect your mental. It's okay to get over it. It's all right.
Yeah. And so with that, man, you gotta do, like, you don't need, man, one day, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, I didn't listen to no podcast. I played worship and gospel music all day while I was working. Had a whole concert up in here. I bet you I don't know if my neighbors could hear me, and I don't care because I just needed to feed my spirit like a bunch of goodness, because it's just been a very draining week for many different reasons. And you got to do whatever it is. Like, I always talk about being spiritually healthy too. Like, we all have spirits, and whatever you need to do to be spiritually healthy, you got to do what you got to do. And there's a lot of information and videos and people's opinions that be all over social media. And it's kind of like, if you only consume negativity, it's going to weigh on you. It's going to start making you a little bit more jaded. It's going to whatever. You got to protect yourself. So whatever that looks like, you got to do what you got to do physically too. You know, like getting sleep. Like I said, I took a nap earlier today because shout out to Jay. She takes naps a lot. And
shout out to Jay. Not a shout out to Audrey. She's not getting a shout out. I hope she sees this too.
Oh,
she ain't hit me up in a while. So to friendship, what is that? What is that?
Have you hit her up?
Probably not, but that's not all of the point though.
That is definitely some of the point though.
It's some of it.
Yeah.
I do what I want to do.
Oh Lord. So you just okay. Go ahead and hit the other one up. You forgot one.
You know, well, I'm not. I want that person to be mad at me too, seeing that this is a violent group.
We are not violent.
Sometimes.
No, like we've literally never been violent to anyone. Okay, I see it.
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
You know what's funny is I wasn't even looking at the screen, but I felt, and then I looked up and I'm like, let me not lie. Okay, I'm not saying I've never been violent to no one ever in life because I know I have, but
you heard all them segments. You know.
But what I'm saying though is that we are not a violent group. That's what I'm saying.
We're not talking about rap. We're not talking about rappers. But we are talking about those
thugs. Yeah. No, that is not us. We out here growing. We out here trying to keep our peace. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to take care of my mental and emotional health, which means I choose peace above anything else. If that means I don't talk to you, I don't care who you are, then so be it if you disturb my peace. And take care of yourself physically. Like this snatched 40s journey, you feel me? April, I've been trying to close my exercise ring every day this month. It is very hard because this week, for example, has been hella busy. But if I choose and prioritize my time according to my goals, then it helps me to meet it. So that is my encouragement to y'all. Thank y'all so much. Dang, we coming up on 3 hours. Thank you if you still listening right now, you a real one.
Yeah, for real. I definitely talking about views.
Yeah. So see, that's what you get, talking all that stuff. Now look.
It's a lot of hypocrisy going on right now.
But all right, y'all, we about to get up out of here. Bye.
Ladies and gents, this concludes transmission. Tune in next time for a whole new edition. Another adventure and mission to share, be heard, and clarify the vision of this whole new